This is an official voice note to the opposition leader of Barbados, Ralph Torn, informing you that the people of Barbados would like you to take the notion to the President of Barbados, Dame Sandra Mason. The people of Barbados would like to have a no confidence motion against the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mayor Amor Motley. This action, this cause, is to address urgently for us to have transparency, accountability, and clarity on what is going on in the country of Barbados under the leadership of Mayor Amor Motley, the Prime Minister of Barbados, aka Fly Minister of Barbados. As I speak on the behalf of the citizens of Barbados, we do not want no confidence motion going through to the parliament in the 29 to 1 and all who in favor say aye, the ayes have it. We, the people of Barbados, need transparency and accountability. The Prime Minister of Barbados needs to understand that she handles the affairs of this country by being elected by the people of this country, the citizens of this country, and she handles the monies that are collected from the citizens of this country, taxpayers. It is not hers. She does not own Barbados. Barbados was never for sale and she bought it. Therefore, there's a necessary need for accountability, transparency, and clarity on a number of issues that is very mind-boggling and is going on in Barbados at this present moment. I'm trying my best to be very official and to be very decent. I don't know if that will last with the whole of these voice notes, but I'm trying. Now, the first issue that we're going to ask, the first question that needs to address immediately, urgently, where does Barbados stand in terms of getting medical aid from Cuba? And is the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mayor Amor Motley, aka Fly Minister? Are you with Ralph Gonsalves, your counterpart from St. Vincent? Ralph came out and said that he is willing to sacrifice his visa and all his cabinet ministers because he's not putting his people through that. They get good eye care and medical care from Cuba. Where does Barbados stand on this issue? We need to know that as soon as possible from you. That is number one. Number two, is it true that you have signed a deal to build BioLab in Barbados? If so, why? Is it true? If so, why? You were elected by the people of Barbados to handle the affairs of Barbados, not to get on that you own Barbados. Therefore, anything so detrimental and anything that we think is so critical to the healthcare of the citizens of Barbados needs to be a forum that needs to be put out there. It's consultation. It needs to be public so people can know what's going on. Not you just going and doing as you like and coming back here and think that everything's fine and dandy. That is number two. Number three, we need transparency and accountability for all this money that is being borrowed, why it's being borrowed, and where is it being spent. Everybody grumbling. Every time you see a loan, whether from ICB, whether from the Chinese, whether from America, whether from Europe, everybody mumbling among themselves, borrowing, regeneration gonna suffer, regeneration gonna pay back this money. All that done with. You need to start asking the questions and answer them no, because you work for us, we don't work for you. And if there's no transparency and accountability, like I said, the opposition leader will go through channels to him first because he is in parliament. We channeling a no confidence motion against Mayor Amor Motley. You don't own Barbados, so you don't think you could do as you like here and you're answering the questions. We need transparency, accountability, clarity. Why all this money is being borrowed? Where is it being spent? Because we are not seeing, we're just seeing and hearing about money borrowed. This month of millions borrowed, but there's no kind of accountability, no transparency, no clarity. All that done. Number four, why is it that chemtrail planes is allowed to fly over Barbados and let out whatever it is that the trails that they let out like smoke? Why is it that it is happening over the air space of Barbados? We need to know that right now. Mayor Amor Marley. Now you got cabinet ministers, you got ministers, you got senators, you got backbenchers, and we see a clear case here there with Trevor Prescott and Charles Griffith. Now, when you are wrong, we don't let you dictatorship leadership style, and we know that you might manage most of these ministries. So there's a lot of big men in little boy clothes. Therefore, the incident the other day with Charles Griffith and Trevor Prescott clearly show they are frustrated, but they can't take out the frustration on you. They're scared of you. You come and show a perfect example of Miss Haynes speaking of the tunes and you fire her instantly. How dare you go talk against something that I do? Clearly, in the boy, a blind man can see exactly what you did. So these ministers know when you are not in the island, which is on a very regular basis, they take out on each other now. They don't understand the English language no more. If something sound offensive or something they're speaking down to them, they take it out on each other now. And that's evident to see with the case with Prescott and Mr. Griffith. That's how frustrated they are. Now, if you get a no confidence motion coming, they are now well into 18 and 5, 18 and 6, 18 and 7 is 25. And you need 2 terms or 8 years to get pension. No confidence motion means that these ministers are going to be shit in the pants. You know what's very mind-boggling to me? You know what's very sickening to me and what was disgusting me? You see voice raising now. When people hear this voice note, it's all about you ain't telling a lie. Jason now gone off, he peeping thing, and Jason up on these seats and stuff, and everybody say, oh, well, upon social media, hey, like this area that he tackling now, and we agree with the internet and lies, and you know, he had something to say. Everybody could see everything is saying about this administration and the Prime Minister of Barbados is true, but still everybody still mum.
Good night, Barbados. Good night, Barbados. You are watching the Marcia Week Show, and we are coming to you live from Barbados. Let me tell you something, Barbados. There is a shift in this country. There is a shift in this country. In 1937, they said tonight is a funny night. Tonight is a funny night. Is that what they said? Listen to me. Listen to me. If you were listening to Parliament today, to the ministerial statement by Minister Duguid, you would realize that the people of Barbados called him out. The people of Barbados called out this government. And so don't you underestimate what this concerned Bajan is doing by sending up this voice note that I'm sure it has been sent to me so many times for the day. You know how many persons have listened to this voice note? And the reason today is a funny night. Thank you, Judith and Clark. Today is a funny night, I tell you. There is a change in Barbados. Look at what happened through the questioning of Mr. Thorne in Parliament and the people of Barbados outside of Parliament. Though he's one person in there, there is so just out support of Crystal Haynes. There's so much support outside of the Parliament for Crystal Haynes. And what this one young lady, a millennial, sometimes you say these young people, you don't know what they're about. All they do is dress up and they go to party and they don't think. But look at this woman, a young woman. I don't think she's even 40 yet. Beautiful little Esther stood up, and that caused a little match to light. When we have Mr. Thorne inside the lower house, giving it to them, and we are on the outside here. Look at what happened. they had a ministerial report on Holetown. And let me tell you, Mr. DeGood, listen, I'm the Prime Minister of Barbados, and we have to call your name because you're in charge of the Planning and Development Ministry. Listen, this is not the end. This is not the end. Barbadians are not, they are not satisfied with what you said in the ministerial statement, and we're going to go through that this evening. This evening, Rose Corbin is going to be coming on, and she's going to ask the question, what next? How much more are we supposed to bear? Barbados? We're going to have Grenville Phillips, who is a structural engineer. He's going to come on and speak about the Holetown Civic Center. Maxine McLean is going to come on, and she's going to talk about the that ministerial statement. We're hoping to get DONVILLE INNIS on as well. And we want to talk tonight about some of the injustices that are happening in this country. We want to ask the question, we don't know who the owners are. Who are the owners for Trent? We are made to understand that that land was acquired by the government, that those people were forced to sell. We don't know who they are, so we have questions. If you know any answers, you can let us know. It was a compulsory acquisition. They were forced to sell so that the foreign developer is able to make money from the land. Who are these people? Are they paid? Were they properly paid? We are not letting this go. We want DeGood to tell us and outline all the public consultation that he says that we had about Holetown. People in Holetown, can you tell me how many meetings, consultations that you had and town halls that you had about this? We want to know if Barbados is concerned about this, why is it that we are told it will still go on? And the promises that are made that we're going to hit it down, we're going to do what we have to do. We will, but don't worry, we're going to take into consideration your concerns. What part of we don't want it tear down do you not understand? Why we have to keep repeating ourselves, you're going to do this like you did the Republic and everything else? This is why this concerned Barbadian is speaking out. And I want to say before I play the national anthem, folks, if for 1 minute you thought that it was Dave, if you could put up Senator Dr. Crystal Haynes' picture for me. I don't want us to forget this. Whatever we think, I'm not about party. You say, oh, but she's still a part of the BLP. I'm not, listen, for me, this is not about no party. You need to understand that. You should know that about me. I'm about Barbados. I don't care what party she's from. Some of you can't support her because you want her to denounce a party. I am not interested. I'm not interested in a party. I will never come and sit here to promote a party. Never. That's a waste of my time. I'm going to promote Barbados. And that's what Crystal is defending, Dr. Haynes. And I say to us, one way to support Dr. Haynes is not just to sit and type and send WhatsApp. That's good. Keep doing that. But on Sunday, we are going down to GIBBS, and we are not just going to talk about GIBBS GULLY, what they're planning to do, and we're going to show you who the developers are tonight. Get ready to share this live. We're going to show you who these developers are and how they're promoting and selling Barbados overseas. Taking up our birthright and selling it. That's what they're doing. Guys, are you sharing this live? Are you sharing this live? Are we serious about what we're doing? Do we come in here for entertainment? What is it that we sit around with our families? I'm hearing of groups of people that sit together, and I shout out to all the viewers. I know I start very strong tonight and I haven't greeted you properly yet, but considering the situation, I know you understand. You know, I'm going to get around to doing that. Dr. Crystal Haynes, she is our Esther of the day. She is our Esther of the day. Stop worrying about that, oh, she needs to come and join this. Forget that nonsense. She has stood up on behalf of this country. And I heard that they're getting ready to start. I saw this man. I won't even mention his name on the show. Not yet. But the moment that he starts on Dr. Crystal Haynes, I say to everybody here, that all of you who dealt with him on my behalf, that he had to run off of Facebook. He's no pledge he's going to destroy her. That's what he said. He's going to destroy this young lady. They've already started sending out lies and propaganda on this young lady, fueled from the BLP party, paid. It's a shame to see a big man prostituting himself like that. Financially, politically, I mean, political prostitution. And I won't call anybody's name on here. I want us to get ready. Get ready for when they start. That gentleman went and threatened her with that he's going to destroy her on social media. Get ready. Get ready, Barbados. Get down to GIBBS. When we get to GIBBS, we are going to talk about GIBBS. But we're not just talking about GIBBS. We're going to talk about Holetown Civic Center. We're going to talk about what's happening at Brighton. We're going to talk about what is happening in Pierhead. We're going to talk about what is happening in the Bayland. Did we know that in the Bayland that they're trying to get those people to move so that they can sell that land, to sell off all the government headquarters to foreign developers? They are advertising that area. God knows it probably already sold, but we're hearing of BAYLAND residents who said the government is coming around to speak to them. You believe that? People who have lived in their houses almost 50-something years? What they want to happen in this country? But I'm speaking and saying that from that parliament, from the Senate, from Dr. Crystal Haynes, from what Rob Thorne is doing, from what is happening on social media, it's going out into the country. A fire has started. Everywhere I go, the people on the beach, the people on the beach are complaining. The people on the beach, those that are selling the towels, those are the wraps. All those people are concerned. I went down to Holetown Beach, and right behind the Civic Center, you have all the people that are selling are worried. They said, ma'am, when they come and lick this down and put up the 9-story, we can't be here anymore. We little poor people can't sell here. And I was surprised. I didn't know that what they were doing. I don't know that they had to pay. They had to pay money to the government to sell on the beach, and to rent the beach chairs, and to put out all the things that they're selling. I had no idea. All of these people, they're worried. So my question is to the government, come out and talk to us. Are you going to disrupt their business so that this white developer, and look how, listen, this is not about white and black, but the point is, at the moment, all the developers are white. So if I say white developers, I know my white viewers that are watching understand what I'm saying, because they're all white. Propped up and incentivized by a black government. So it's not about race. So you're telling me you are going to disrupt their business so that foreign developers, the foreign developers will be able to benefit from our beaches that you told us, the colonizer, after slavery, those were the lands they gave us, Barbados. They gave us the beach lands, Barbados. Miss Rose Corbin is getting ready to come on. I can see her fixing her camera. But let me say to you, I came on hot tonight because there's just too much disrespect, lack of transparency, lack of accountability, and think that it's going to go on as usual. Let them know we don't care what color it is. We don't care. We don't line up behind colors. We're not children, and it's not sports day. We're asking for fairness, justice, respect for the people of Barbados. How on earth we can tell you we have a problem with it and you come on to tell us you are going ahead with it after you told us the same thing you're going ahead with? You told us that the deal wasn't done. Pinocchio. Dave, where's my Pinocchio picture? Put it up for me, please. Okay, I'm gonna go. Give me 5 minutes, Miss Corbin. I didn't see you when I went on. But so let me just get ready to play the national anthem. Guys, you've got to share up this live tonight. Today is a funny night. Today is a funny night. I know you are listening. Government, I know you are listening. Not good enough. We are tired. Let's stand for the playing of the national anthem. Yes, Barbados. Yes, Barbados. This is what is all about for us. People of Barbados, I want us to understand our power. Understand the power, guys. We are ready. We are ready to love on Barbados, to take back Barbados. This is our country. This is our beautiful country. Good night, a special good night to everyone. Let me say a special good night to a daughter of the soil. I almost say Honorable Rose Corbin, because that's how we see you. That's how we think of you. And we want to thank you for being with us tonight. And we look forward, Madame Corbin. I'm giving you all these titles tonight for what you have to share with us. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show. You're muted. Are you still muted?
Yes. Good evening. Thank you so much for that warm welcome as usual. And I'm honored as well as humbled to be with you in this forum where we can have this reach to share on matters that are of common interest, matters that are of concern to us. And as I usually do, please let me say good evening to all the loyal sons and daughters all out there, locally here in Barbados and in the Caribbean and beyond in the diaspora, loyal sons and daughters, all firm craftsmen of our faith. And so, Marcia, I'm here to make my contribution with you and with others. Thank you, Marcia.
You're most welcome.
So do I get into it?
Yes, go right ahead. I'm so sorry. Go right ahead, Mrs. Corbin.
Yes, please. Thank you. Could we go back, Dave, to the very first clip that I would have sent you, PowerPoints?
While we're doing that, I'm going to ask everybody to like and share and subscribe. Yes, a like, share, subscribe, so that whenever we come on, you're going to get your notification that we're on. You see a little bell that is there on the right. Try to click that bell on the right, and you see a thumbs up. You click the thumbs up. Okay, those of you who are seniors, ask your grandchildren and your children to tell you what to do. All right, but we want to make sure. That we are connected up, so that this is a very important time for us, Barbados. Yes, go right ahead, Mrs. Corbin.
Do we have the first clip, PowerPoint?
Okay, it seems to be having some. Just start, and as you start, then we're gonna might be some technical issues. Sorry about that.
This evening, Marcia, I would, and to those who are with us, I would like to speak specifically to what's happening in education. And as you all know, that education has been my lifeline. It's my passion. I know no other form of activity really that grabs me than education. And hence my first PowerPoint slide, I have inserted that heartbeat, that heart. And my caption is education, the heart and heartbeat of a nation, of a people. And I remember last year, Marcia, that when we were looking at education transformation, in 2023, actually, I would have done presentations in this forum on the development, the historical development of education. And we would have traced it beyond, but at the start, just prior to emancipation, 1825 emancipation, and that the plantocracy, in its concern that the newly freed slaves would get out of hand, they and the church came together to educate that population, the freed slaves. The education, though faulty and want to keep in submission, was nonetheless the groundings and the beginnings of what generations which followed built on and profited by and prospered by and prospered from. And therefore, I am very concerned with what's happening now. And hence, I am asking persons to get up and speak out about the way education is being handled or mishandled in recent times. Let's look at the next slide. And I'm sure, Marcia, you would agree with me that education is the heartbeat of a people, of families, of a nation. And when you mess with the heart, what happens? You paralyze, you cripple, you even kill, you even destroy the body. Hence that knife, I found that one, how they are stabbing and killing this country in many ways. And they have now gone a step further. They're killing us with the debt. They're killing us with the disenfranchisement through land ownership. And now they are carelessly, they've gotten too flippant now with education. And look at the heart rate, how I'm seeing education losing its heartbeat, losing its strength, losing its vigor until it's going to flatten out. And this is the analogy how I am seeing the trends in education and what is happening and what can happen. Let us look at the next slide. And I have here the Ministry of Educational Transformation and a question mark. What's that? No longer are we the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, but we have now been dropped with this sudden name, the Ministry of Educational Transformation. And these are the questions I'm asking, Marcia, and to you out there, and to those responsible for education. What indeed is the Ministry of Educational Transformation? What is to be implied or construed by this recently conferred change of name? Is it the covert engine or mechanism to be employed by the powers that be to ensure the continuation of the dropped, and I have dropped in parentheses, reimagining education through the proposed educational reform which was brought to the public in 2023? What are they doing and with education? How are they using what used to be the Ministry of Education? Let's look at the next slide. And if you pull up this, you remember this was what was brought to us in 2023, the glamorous launching of the reimagining education, all the monies that were spent on the big launch, the PR used by, I think it was Gaynell Marshall, the town hall meetings again, which they had more PR at than technocrats promoting this education reform until we discovered, by my asking, they had no budget, all the things they were planning to do to change and mash up education. Not that I'm against change and transformation and reformation, but do it properly and sensibly with a supporting and supportive rationale. I am asking if covertly through this name change that the focus will be to continue what they started and have not succeeded at. Next slide, please. Now, we know that we have a prime minister who likes jetting around the world. Well, I went, Marcia, on my own virtual jetting through the looking for information available to me on how countries across the world treat education. And what I have found out, Marcia, is that there is nothing in my jet setting research that speaks to the Ministry of Educational Transformation. Let's look at China. China has a Ministry of Education of the People's Republic of China. Now, China has become our colonial masters now. We are being recolonized. And if we are keeping in stride with China, we would see that China has a Ministry of Education of the People's Republic of China. Persons would say that it is indoctrination, that is draconian, that it is heavy-handed. But we do know that China, even little children in primary schools, what we call primary schools, are sent in many provinces across China away from their parents to boarding school from very early. And they are very clear in what they call education, the Ministry of Education of the People's Republic of China. The UK has the Department of Education, and they then give oversight and resources to the other counties, to the other parts of the UK to administer the delivery of education and the policies that come and are formulated by and through the Department of Education. We look at Ghana. Remember, we have our flag in a coffin somewhere in Ghana. We started an embassy in Ghana, and they have the Ministry of Education. We look at Russia. Russia, again, draconian like China, heavy-handed, highly political, has a Ministry of Education and Science of the Russian Federation. Canada, although there is no Ministry or Education or Department of Education at federal level, there are ministries and departments responsible for education at provincial level. For example, the Ministry of Education Ontario. Guyana, we're very close to Guyana. The Prime Minister and the Prime Minister of Guyana are close, like Siamese twins. And what do they have? The Ministry of Education. Similarly, Jamaica, bigger many times than Barbados, but they have a Ministry of Education. And that's what my jet setting brought up, virtual social media jet setting. So Marcia, I am tired from jet setting. I don't know how the Prime Minister manages to hop off a plane and then go and speak so long at somebody's funeral and whatever. I don't know how she manages, but this is my contribution on how the world treats education by having a very clear designation called the Ministry of Education. Now let's look quickly, Marcia, I think now at that clip where the Prime Minister drops on us this name change. Do we have that one, Marcia?
Yes, it's going to come right up, and we're going to ask everybody to continue to share, continue to like, take your notes. Remember, there is an educational component to our show right here on the Marcia Week Show. Okay, go right ahead, Dave.
Yes,
Thank
please.
you so much.
Yeah, from there.
I've asked the Honorable Chad Blackman to assume responsibility for the Ministry of Educational Transformation, which will focus on pre-primary, primary, and secondary education. I've asked the Honorable Sandra Husbands to assume responsibility for Ministry of Training and Tertiary Education, recognizing that government would wish to put all of its training programs in one, those from the Ministry of Public Service, those from the National Transformation Initiative, all of those previously in the Ministry of Education, so that the country can undertake a massive program for the upskilling of our people. I've said over and over that our responsibilities towards having skills for the requisite task of building out this country is the thing that keeps me up at night, not balance of payments or indeed debt anymore, as was the case when we first took office. I've also asked...
There. I smile at that one. That's an aside. I wish that she would stay awake looking at the debt that she's putting us in. I wish that she would stay awake and say that the state of crime and violence in our country keep her awake. But she said it's not that. So easy come, easy go. You know, from that Marcia, that clip, I have been studying it and listening to it. I don't think that any thought was given to the treatment of the Ministry of Education, where the post was vacated, not voluntarily, but where the Prime Minister, after telling Marshall Cattle, go long, like how she would have told who is the gentleman who's now the leader of the opposition, go long. After Miss Cattle went long, she had to quickly fill a gap. She could not keep, that was the opportune time to remove Kim McConney. And I don't know, we get the impression it was like, who we going to put there? Who we going to drop in there? And while we dropping in somebody there and a new face, let's come up with a new name. I do not think any thought was given, Marcia, to the treatment and the handling of the vacated seat space left in the Ministry of Education, the heartbeat of the nation. And Marcia, I want to stand on correction, but clearly the Prime Minister is not and I speak under correction, the Prime Minister is certainly not aware of the ministry's functioning, because she said under the under the Honorable Sandra Husbands, whose capabilities I don't question, will now come training for the public sector and the National Transformation Initiative. That is misleading. The Ministry of Education has never been responsible for public sector training. There used to be a training administration division responsible for government training. How recently, when we went to education transformation, we never heard anything about public sector training. So that does not occur under the portfolio of the Ministry of Education. And as far as I know, the National Transformation Initiative, an excellent program of sorts, has been in the Prime Minister's office. That National Transformation Initiative is given oversight by the Prime Minister or from persons within the Prime Minister's office. So do not mislead us and give us the impression that now these entities which were under the Ministry of Education now given a rationale for the separate ministry responsible for training and higher education or whatever, which now comes under Ms. Husbands. That's not true. Let's hurry on, Marcia, quickly.
Yes, and as you do that, we just ask people to continue to like and share. And we have, in this segment, we actually have another 8 minutes in this segment. And coming up, we have persons from the diaspora who are going to speak about their view of what's happening in Barbados. Okay, so I took a minute from it, so I give you back your minutes. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Marcia. Let us look now, and I have said it not disparagingly, not being partisan. I am passionate, not partisan. And I have had to speak out at times about how education was handled under the DLP administration. So let us look, Marcia, I keep saying, and I've done my research, that under the BLP administration, I don't know if they don't like education. I don't know if it is a thing to keep people in their place. I don't know. But the BLP has always handled education as if it were a hot fish cake. I got to drop it in the sand. They don't handle education sensitively and sensibly. We can only look back at the failure of EduTech 2000. The DLP comes in. I mean, if you look at the former minister, Ronald Jones, I mean, he was mouthy. Sometimes he would open mouth without thinking and story would jump out. But when he said that he needed 6 forms in other schools, in newer secondary schools, he did not have to have a big launch at Lloyd Erskine Sanford Center. He did not have to to have PR. He did not have to have consultations or consultants. He did not have to go to the House for vote for large sums of money to
Yes.
retrofit schools for sixth forms. He said sixth forms in these schools, and they were there and they're functioning. But this government talks, and I put incompetent people like the late, did I say late? I'm sorry, not late, but she was always late and behind the times in whatever she was doing. The former Minister of Education, Kim McConney. Now let's look at the next clip to substantiate, Marcia, the next slide. What I am saying about this here very Ministry of Educational Transformation and what we would have known about the Ministry of Education. And let's look at the beginnings, again, historical. The beginnings of the Ministry of Education in Barbados. Barbados has had a Ministry of Education since 1954, with the introduction of the ministerial form of government. That would have been 12 years prior to our independence. Give Jack his jacket. The BLP, the Ministry of Education, was appointed for the first time with Sir Grantley Adams appointing the Honorable Luther Thorne. That is where we get the Luther Thorne Primary School as the first Minister of Education under the BLP. It was under the BLP, Marcia and listeners, that we had our first Ministry of Education and Minister of Education. But they have not honored that historical development. In fact, they don't even talk about Sir Grantley Adams anymore. The BLP has had its beginnings with Mia Motley as Prime Minister. There has been no beginnings, and there has been, she doesn't trace historically, only when she wants to, the input, significant input, and we have to give credit to those forerunners and leaders who would have had the vision for such things as the Ministry of Education. In summing up, what do I want? I do not question the credibility or capability of Senator Chad Blackman. We have to give him a chance.
Yes, I agree.
I do not question it. From my research again on him, I don't listen to what people say. He seemed to have had from very early an impressive track record in carrying out duties at the highest level as a diplomat and ambassador. I take my hat off to him for that. But given that ministry that has had so much trouble from 2018 until now, they are placing him, the Prime Minister has dropped him in there. What do I want from him? No, quickly, I drew a timeline. Marcia, he takes up duty now. This is what, March.
Yes.
School is going to break for Easter vacation. So that's a school break. What is happening during that time? Then after that school break, Marcia, they come back in It is common entrance. It is getting ready for graduation. It is getting ready for CXC exams, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one term gone. Then we break for the long 8-week summer vacation. Nothing happens in the Ministry of Education really beyond the technocrats and the staff going in. Okay. They come back in. And what happens in from September to December? From September to December now, we're going to be having settle in a new term. We're going to have professional teachers week or day. We're going to have independence. We're going to have Christmas. Do we still have independence? We're going to have the Republic, whoever. And then it's December. Marcia, I think the timelines would indicate a stopgap.
Yes.
Put him in there to be diplomatic. Don't rock the boat. Keep things going steadily as we move smoothly, because we are anticipating with regathering over Marcia that we are going to have elections soon in 2020.
So you're thinking is a stopgap. Well,
so
listen,
stopgap.
This is going so good, as the people are saying, but we have we have a really tough schedule, and this means that Miss Corbin, I don't know how many. I mean, this is going very good, but unfortunately, we have gone over time. Okay.
Yes, please.
And but I mean, this is an eye opener. It's always a history lesson. With you, as somebody said, you and Glenn Murray, you research your topics and very well prepared. So if you can promise us that the next time that we're on, that you'll be able to come on again with us and to just complete. You probably can add on some more and to complete. But come back. Can you come back at 9 o'clock, Mrs. Corbin?
Yes, I'll oblige.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. But thank you so very much for the presentation. And we are going to, once we have some time at the end, you come back on, and regardless, you'll be on with the rest, with everybody else, as we answer questions, and you can throw some more of it to us. Okay. Thank you so much. We just have you waiting in the waiting room.
Everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Guys, we have a packed show tonight. We have a packed show tonight, and I'm sure you can understand with all that is happening so quickly around Barbados. We have the diaspora here, and in the wings, I'm seeing Mr. Grenville Phillips. So we are behind Mr. Phillips. Please bear with us with the time, Mr. Phillips, but we're happy to have you. We don't want to disrespect you in terms of your time, but give us a couple minutes here with the diaspora. Michelle, good night, madam. Good night, Michelle Daniels. How are you?
Good night, Marcia. Good night, Barbados.
It's good to have you. And Michelle, where in Barbados are you from? Tell us again.
I'm from St. Joseph.
You're from St. Joseph. You're from St. Joseph. You used to go on the little hill that they had there and look out.
Absolutely.
Before they cut it down for the developer, right?
Absolutely.
Down that hill. You can't, when you come home, you can't go on that hill because he fenced it around. The half a hill, he fenced it around.
I see these videos that Mr. Lewis has for us, and I appreciate what Mr. Lewis is doing right now for Barbados.
Yes. Well, we also have Gina. Gina is on. I don't know if I'm allowed to say her full name, but Gina, welcome to the Marcia Week Show.
Thank you so much for having me, Marcia. I really appreciate you having me tonight.
Oh, we're happy to have you. We're happy to have you, and you're most welcome. Now, Gina, can you at least tell us where in the U.S. you're from? You're living?
Sure. Right now? I actually live in New York, so I'll just give you a little bit about myself. So I left Barbados at a really young age. So I've lived in New York for over 35 years. The reason why this is really sad and disheartening to me, because I have a child, and I would like to share the little bit of time that I grew up in Barbados with my son, so he can experience some of the things that I did and some of the places that I visited just like Folkestone Park and going to Barclays Park and going to Martins Bay, going to the beach. And it's really sad to see that our country is being sold out to the highest bidder. And it feels like our heritage is being slipped away just because of money. And it's really hard when I go back and then you can't do the specific things that you would like to do. And the Barbados that I knew as a child is not the same when I visit. I was just there recently and it's really not the same. It's very, very disheartening.
Wow, wow. You're speaking, and you're calm about it, but I could actually hear the pain in your voice. Gina, where in Barbados are you originally from?
Okay, so I'm from St. Michael, so like over by the Belmont Funeral Home, Carrollton Village.
Mm-hmm. So you're from St. Michael's. Do you realize that in St. Michael, that all of that Bay area, Bayland area, Bay Street, all of that, you're going to have high-rise hotels all along there? Are you aware of that?
I am aware of it. I actually saw it a couple of weeks ago. When I was a child, I used to go to Browns Beach all the time, and it used to be a fish market behind there. So when you go on that beach, it's so many tourists and so many chairs with umbrellas. It's so ridiculous that I find that you don't even see a lot of locals on those beaches anymore. So when you go on the beach, it's tons of chairs, people paying money to rent these chairs, and you don't see locals at the beach. So it's very, very sad. I guess the majority of the people, they're either coming from the cruise ships or where they might be staying at the Hilton or the Radisson or wherever they're staying. It is not the same from when I was a child growing up.
Yes.
Browns Beach.
Browns Beach. And now, I know, let me go to Michelle. Thank you so much, Gina, but just stay right there. Michelle, I don't know if you heard that it is being reported, it's being alleged that some of the residents of the Bayland area, they're being approached. That it appears as though government is reaching out to them because right along there on Bay Street, they're planning to sell the government headquarters. And so it appears that the plan is to move the people there in Bayland. Michelle, what are your thoughts about that?
After listening all week, I feel anxiety. I feel that we are being pushed inland. The shores will no longer be ours. And but there's no explanation. There's no one, there's no accountability. No one is saying how this is getting done. And this is making, you feel the anxiousness. I can imagine how people who live in Barbados are feeling. If you're saying that people are approaching you, telling you that things are going on in their community, it's very disheartening at this time. And I don't know how we're going to get past this. And when I say past this, meaning I don't understand how this is happening, how this is becoming just for sale. How Barbados, like someone said the other night, just a garage sale. How is this happening at this point? Why is it happening? I understand that Barbados has as amount of debt, but we have to look inward to solve those problems. We don't need to go out to foreign investors, people that don't even acknowledge our culture, to find help. We need to look inward to solve this problem.
Yeah. Actually, someone, Gina and Michelle, they're saying that according to this person, saying Beccles Hill people are being asked to move. Hotel and Conference Center is coming up from Bay Street up to the sooner where the former geriatric hospital used to be. So here it is that Michelle, our elderly people, they could have felt the little sea breeze there. But they have moved the geriatric hospital and put it inland. Yes. And the reason is that they were saying they're giving us all kind of people trying to figure out, why are you doing that? Now we understand what it is. It is that they want to make room for the developers. Do you realize that is really why the geriatric hospital was built inland?
Well, I don't see where the social things are being addressed in Barbados. We still, discussing water. We're discussing water. We're discussing roads. How is it that developers get to come in and find a property or make some negotiation and swiftly swiftly things happen when there are people in Barbados who can't even get their parents or their grandparents' property transferred to themselves, taking them years to get these things done.
Yes, I'm wondering if Michelle, you're so right, because you grew up. I'm not Michelle, Gina, in St. Michael. When you come back, it's gonna be different. I saw something in the newspaper by one of the developers, and what they said, Gina and Michelle, is that Bridgetown will look like Dubai on steroids.
No.
Anybody else remember seeing that?
No.
They said it's going to look like Dubai on steroids, Gina. I mean, what do you try to picture it? I don't know if Dave has some of those models that they've shown, because we want to remind people of what is going to look like. It's going to be, you're talking about concrete. Okay. But Michelle, Gina, what when you think about that imagery, Dubai on steroids, what goes through your mind, Gina?
I think because I think of like Dubai, how they have those man-made islands shaped in the shape of palm trees, right? So if they're doing that to Barbados, especially in the town area and especially Bay Street, I think that's very stupid, because you have to think about tsunamis and you're just wrecking the whole environmental aspect of Barbados. And water is such a funny thing. Water always finds a way to come back and destroy stuff. So I'm hoping whenever they build this stuff, the water destroys it. But it is very sad, and it is no way that they should be allowing this to happen, no matter for money. And I don't understand what this government does, or what the mindset is behind the plans that they have for people in Barbados to just be selling stuff out. And for example, if they're building all these hotels, the occupancy rate in Barbados is not really over 80%. Half of these hotels are not even crowded. So I don't understand why they need to build more hotels. And Barbados is a very expensive place. A lot of people don't come to Barbados. The people that come to Barbados are probably either people that are from there or families of people that are from Barbados. Only people they really get in are people probably from London or someplace in Europe. Americans don't really come to Barbados. It's too expensive. So I don't understand the mindset of creating a concrete jungle of some place that has natural and serene beauty, just destroying it.
Gina, what would you're not here in Barbados, and you've left over 30 something years, but you could still feel that passion, that love that you have for this country. What do you say to Barbadians that are living here? What's next? What should Barbadians do? I see Kamar, who's in the diaspora, keeps saying, what do we do? What do you say to Barbadians, Gina?
I think if I were living there, Marcia, I think every single march that you have, I'll actually be there. I think people need to come out and stop saying that they're going to come, just be on the show, hide in the background. Why are you scared of me and Motley for? You're the same human being as you are. There's no reason to be scared of any of these people. Just come out and protest and fight and have some kind of activism or activist spirit in your body, so you could fight and defend whatever is yours. I always bring it back to the Black Civil Rights Movement. If they didn't do what they did, I'm not even talking about the Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, just other people in general, I probably wouldn't be in America today. We have to fight. We just cannot sit here and be docile. We have to fight. I really hope that Bajans will come out and support you on all the marches that you have. Because if I were there, I would be at every single one.
Yes, well, that's so, that's so wonderful to hear her say that, Michelle, because we do have a march that is planned on the 22nd of March, and it's a love march. It's a march to display our love and our affection, and to just affirm our love for our country. We're not into burning down the country. Nothing. We love Barbados, and we want to keep it that way. Michelle, I'm asking you the same thing. What do you say to Barbadians who are listening to you right now?
What I would say, what I'm saying to Barbados is we are, people who listen to this show, they are actively involved in democracy, active listeners, and we have to motivate and educate the inactive. And when I say inactive listeners, everyone cannot be here like reading the newspaper, doing research, so those who are inactive, those are the ones that they're working hard. They are feeding their families. They have dinner, to make at nighttime. We have to speak to those people. We have to say, do you know that this is happening? Do you understand what is going on in Barbados? We have to engage the inactive members of Barbados, citizens of Barbados. We have to galvanize them. I understand that, at night, during, everyone has to work. I understand that. I'm fortunate that I can do this. I don't have those, those challenges anymore. My children are adults. And part of what I do is I make sure that everyone is listening. Like, did you know, how can you understand this? Explain this to me. So I spend a lot of time doing that. And I think that everyone here who is listening, please, you have to engage the inactive listeners. We have to lift up everyone. Everyone is not going to be, it's never been where everyone is part of the movement. It's never going to be like that. So we have to help lift up those and come out, show up, and show out.
Yes. Just before you guys go, Gina, you are there, and I'm sure, I hope that you are connected to some of the Bajans there in New York, and probably in Florida, probably some in Boston. What can you do there to educate? Because a lot of people who live outside of Barbados, they really think that everything is wonderful inside here. What can you do, Michelle, from overseas to help us here in Barbados?
Well, like I said, I am I'm active in democracy. I'm active in democracy here in the US. I'm active in Barbados. I contribute whatever you need me to do. You need me to write, you need me to come on here and speak, you need me to show up somewhere. Okay. Eventually I'm gonna show up in Barbados, times. I'm going to show up in Barbados. I got some things I got to handle, but I'm going to show up in Barbados. But that's what I do. I spend a lot of time speaking to others. Sometimes they don't want to hear, everyone wants to believe that Barbados is about a fete, or they come, or I get the text messages. They understand why I haven't been to Barbados this year. And it's the text message all the time. Like, when are you coming? Are you coming for crop over? No, I'm not doing any of that this year. I'm not doing any of that. I have other things to do in Barbados. So what are you planning on doing? Then I hear, okay, I will join you. So, this is what we have to do. We have to engage the inactive citizens of Barbados.
Yes. Gina, how do you activate the Bajans in the diaspora?
Okay, so I'm going to be honest. The only people I know from Barbados probably people in my family. So I don't have any Bajan friends because I left there too young. Probably like I have like one in Barbados. So so what I do, I try to tell my family what's going on, because everyone thinks that Mia Motley is like the gift of gab and she's so brilliant. And I let them know this is not true. This lady is a piece of work. So I engage my family, let them know what's going on. I even tell them about your show. I share and like and send through WhatsApp a whole bunch of people in my family that's that's Bajan, and I share the links of your show, and I try to show them different clips, and just show them the facts of what's really happening, what she's really doing is filling out the country. And then they try to say, well, I didn't know that she was doing this. Oh, when she came to New York, I actually went to go see her. Well, stop going to see this woman when she comes here.
Yes.
Don't support her because she's a liar.
You have been sharing with others in the diaspora, and I think that's great that we have to make sure that we present a balanced picture, because somehow they believe that everything is perfect here. Well, my final question to both of you, my final one, I will talk to you all for the night. Although I'm going to ask you if you're able to come back on at 9 when we have the call-in section. But Michelle, let me ask you, I don't know if you were able to see what happened to Senator Crystal Haynes. Yes. And I'm not letting go of this moment, because this is a very important moment for Barbados, where this young millennial senator, young woman, decided just to speak up on behalf of the people, and she was fired. As a female, you watch that. What kind of thoughts went through your mind?
As I watched it, the video, and I'm concerned why others have not spoken up on her behalf. She's speaking about Barbados. She's speaking about where everyone is living. You know, I'm not in Barbados right now, but she's in Barbados, and she's speaking up for everyone. And we have to spend the time to hold her up. We have to prop her up, because we have very few voices. And when I say voices, voices that are loud. She made a point. She made a point specifically, okay, in Parliament, and that might have rattled, you know, certain people. That might have rattled certain people. So I just want to say to her, I'm thankful. I'm happy for that. She was, you know, she got that opportunity. It will be something that is left in the history of Barbados, and I just want others to feel that, you know, like women have to stand up for women, but she's standing up for a woman that's standing up for the entire Barbados at this time.
Yes, I think it's really, really powerful. Gina, did you see or hear the speech by Senator Dr. Crystal Haynes, because she's fired? And what are your thoughts about what she said?
I thought she was brilliant. I thought it was great of her to speak up and voice her opinion and not be scared to I don't know what the laws are in Barbados in regards to freedom of speech, but it was great that she decided to use her freedom of speech to speak about the injustices and things that are happening. So I wish more people would be like her instead of being scared to speak up. Who cares if she gets fired? She could go do something else. So she has the skill set. So she doesn't have to be dependent on being in Parliament and being deceitful to herself, because she knows whoever knows whatever is going on, and they're not saying anything. So I believe she's a stand-up kind of girl, and I'm very proud of her that she did that, being honest with herself, because she knows the injustices of what's happening, and she's actually letting people know. So I applaud her for speaking up. I wish more people would be like her.
Be like her. Yeah, I'm actually very inspired by her. And as the young people would say, that she stood on business. She was standing on business, and we love her. We appreciate her. Thank you so much, Gina and Michelle. I hope you come back, so we'll hear. We get to hear from you from the diaspora. So the diaspora is really saying what they feel about what's happening here in Barbados. Thank you, ladies, for joining us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Oh, wow. It is a real privilege to hear from those in the diaspora. Well, we have joining us tonight Mr. Grenville Phillips. And, you know, he is a professional. He's one of those persons that we need to hear from. All right. And we want to listen to him. Listen, remember, this issue is not about party. And we have said that already, always on the show. If this was about party, I don't know. I don't think we could still be going. This is about Barbados. And so we are going to welcome Mr. Phillips, and he is coming to speak as a professional. All right. He is a structural engineer, and these are the people that we want to hear from. He's going out on a limb and coming to speak to us tonight. So we want to welcome Mr. Grenville Phillips. Good night, sir.
Yes, good night.
It's a pleasure having you here tonight, and apologies for the lateness. I'm so sorry.
Yes, no problem. I just had to drive to go on another assignment. So I'm in the car at the moment. So apologize for that.
Yes. But sir, you would have seen the headlines that we see here. The Canadian buys the Civic Center, the Holetown Civic Center. This is after we were told that the deal was not yet settled. You would have heard Dr. Crystal Haynes in Parliament. I'm sure you would have heard her given that speech and asking, really pleading with the government to save something for us, because all of these beachfront properties are being sold off. And you wrote a wonderful, as usual. You know, I love your what you call them again? I forgot.
Difficult conversations.
Difficult conversations. I actually
Yes.
do read them, and they're very well written, sir. And you wrote a fantastic one. You said you had more to write, but you're here with us tonight. I would love to hear your thoughts on this redevelopment plan of Barbados.
Well, with that one, we do have a physical development plan, and in that, I believe, is a master plan for Holetown. Well, we'll all have to check and see whether this is in compliance with that. My concern really is with the loss of stonemasonry buildings in Barbados. We are just losing them now at an alarming rate. Since 2018, I believe 1,007 have been advertised for demolition.
Can you repeat what you're saying there? So you kind of moved the conversation a little further along, and you're talking about structures, particular structures and types of structures that are earmarked for demolition. And you're saying over 1,000? Can you explain? Yes. Break it down for us.
Right. So the kind of structures that we have in Barbados, especially houses, they tend to be currently concrete block houses, concrete block masonry. So they're hollow concrete blocks. That's the main structure of the house. So the vast majority of the houses being built in Barbados are concrete block masonry houses. Also, what used to be the dominant type was timber houses, timber framed houses.
Yes.
But those are being constructed less and less, and now we are doing more concrete block masonry. Now we are doing some of this metal that the Chinese are bringing in, and a little concerned about that. But previously, before independence, it was coral stone masonry, and rarely do people build out of coral stone masonry anymore, and therefore this is part of our foreparents' legacy. This is part of our patrimony. This coral stone masonry buildings and houses. Now, to put this amount of destruction that we are doing in perspective, in the 1990 census, the inspectors went and counted the number of stone masonry houses there were in Barbados, because there is a housing census, and they found that there were 2,401 occupied stone masonry houses in Barbados. 2,401 that were occupied. And then in the 2010 census, that's 20 years later, there were 2,645 stone masonry houses.
Okay.
Of which 497 were occupied. So it declined a little bit because the amount of occupied houses were less. But still over 2,000. Still over 2,000.
Over 2,000, yes.
Since 2018, when the current administration got in, they had advertised over 1,007. They have advertised 1,007 stone masonry buildings. So in the 2021 census now, 4 years ago, there were only 273 stone masonry houses left in Barbados. Wow. 273, right? 90% of them gone.
Wow. 90%
about
have been demolished.
Demolished. So they're rapidly demolishing these things. So in 2021, according to the census, there were only 273 left, and since then they've demolished quite a few, certainly over 100. So we are down to very few left. And recently, 27th of February, they published a list of an additional 92 stone masonry buildings that they want to destroy. Now, someone asked me to take a look at one. I did, and I wrote because I inspected it and I found that the walls were structurally sound. And I wrote to the Environmental Protection Department, who are the ones that put out the list. And I explained to them that I found that the house was structurally sound, and with a little bit of effort, we could have it habitable again. But they let me know two things. One, I had no standing really to write them because I was not the owner. And two, they really don't have a mandate for fixing houses.
Excuse me. So
Yes.
they did not. This is environmental. What's the name of this department?
Protection Department.
Protection, and you're a structural engineer, and they're saying that. Wow, that is interesting.
Yes, but that's okay though, because I accepted that if that's how the regulations are, that it is that the homeowner must present their case. They can't really have an agent present their case for them. Well, fine, but that's harmful then to really elderly persons who may not know that they are persons willing to advocate on their behalf. Nevertheless, on the 5th of March, 2025, in the nation, the Environmental Protection Department explained finally their conditions, their why they would demolish something. They said that they were doing it in accordance with the Health Services Act, Chapter 44, Section 11A, to control breeding sites for rodents and mosquitoes. So they also defined their definition of a derelict structure. So I quote, if it meets one or more of the following conditions and is likely to cause a nuisance. So the conditions are, it's unoccupied, or the ceiling has collapsed, or the galvanized roof is corroded, or there is debris, or it is harboring undesirables, I guess barrows, whatever, or there's litter, or they're missing doors, or they're rodents, or there are structural cracks in the ring beam, or there are structural cracks in the vertical walls, or they're termite infested rafters, or they're termite infested support members. I mean, so you just need to get one of those. And only one. I mean, that's like just about every house in Barbados probably has one of those things.
Right.
And it is likely to cause a nuisance. Not that it causes a nuisance. It's likely to cause a nuisance. I mean, this is alarming. So I decided to read the Health Services Act. And it says something completely different. It says that the minister is supposed to list a set of works that must be done on the property. Now, if they are not done, then the minister may cause them to be done and recover the costs either from the owner, or if the owner won't pay, then the minister takes possession of the property and sells it by public auction. And if there's any surplus left, that goes to the owner. So I don't, so nowhere in here is there this quest for demolition. The minister must identify the works that must be done to address the problems with mosquitoes or with rats or nuisances, and have them addressed by letting the homeowner do them. And if the homeowner doesn't do them, then the minister gets someone to do them. And therefore that's a debt then to the state, and the homeowner now must pay that debt. And if they can't pay that debt, then you sell the property, which is already in good shape because it's been fixed. The minister got it fixed, got the problems dealt with, and therefore it is now livable again, it's habitable. And then they sell it by public auction, and therefore the highest bidder is the one that will get it. And if there's any surplus, which there's likely to be, because you're selling a property, maybe you get $200,000 for it, and you only spent maybe $20,000, $30,000 in the fix-up, plus another $5,000, $10,000 maybe to organize the auction. So the majority of the money will then go to the homeowner, which the reason why they couldn't fix it is probably because they didn't have any money.
Right, in the first
Probably elderly person. But again, nowhere in here are we demolishing. So I'm not sure why we are demolishing all of these buildings, and now we only have 273 left. Well,
And
again, much
this
less
is
than that.
from 2000 to 2,645 in 2010. In 2018, we had up to over 1,007. Is that true?
No. Right. So the last census, before this last one, then 2010, the 2010 census, there were 2,645
right
stonemasonry houses in Barbados. Now, 497 were unoccupied. So there's then 2,100 and maybe 42 houses that were occupied. Then from 2018 to present, we have demolished 1,007.
That's we have. I think the whole thing. So, guys, did you hear that?
Demolished about half of them.
Years.
Right. So since this government got in, we demolished half of them. But that would mean that the last government demolished almost the other half, because there's only 273 left.
But why do you think we are doing this? Because I would think that we are going to try to preserve some of this. When I go to Cuba, Mr. Phillips, I don't know if you've been to Cuba.
I've heard of the marvelous architecture.
Oh my gosh! When you go to Cuba and you see this, that's the attraction in Cuba of Cuba.
Yes.
You see the architecture. You see when you pass and you see the Parliament building here in Barbados, and you see these kinds of structures and so on. It is so beautiful. So why do you think we are really trying to do this? We've seen that it's really not part of the Health Services Act. So what are we doing here?
Well, maybe they have some regulation that I'm unaware of. I tried calling them, but because they left a number there for you to call. It was actually published in the paper, and I called it, and no one answered. So I'm trying to find out on what basis are they demolishing? Who gave them the go ahead to demolish? We need more housing in Barbados. So that's a fact. We need more housing. The Ministry of Housing, they plan to build like 10,000 houses. So there is a need for more housing. These houses already have good quality footings. They have structurally sound masonry walls, stone masonry walls. They have structurally sound floors. The only thing that needs to go really is the roofs, because they are probably termite ridden. So you just have to protect the walls, strengthen the walls, plaster them, and put on a new roof. But so therefore the house has value. And it costs a lot less to just strengthen the walls and put on a new roof than to construct the footings, which are already there, the walls, which are already there, and the floors, which are already there. So we're turning all of, well, what this seems to be is that we are depriving potential homeowners of an affordable property, because half of the building is already there. And we're also because it's already there. Therefore, the homeowner doesn't have to spend all of that money in rebuilding footings and walls and floors. They just have to maybe plaster them if they wish. And it also deprives the property owner of an asset, because it belongs to the property owner, and probably the person is elderly, and that's my experience. They belong to elderly people. And rather than give them an asset by selling it, or by the government, which is taxpayer funded, fixing it up and then selling it, and then give the surplus then to our senior Barbadians, we are turning it into rubble and then disposing of that rubble, which means that it has no value at all. There's no value. So the only thing left, and again, I get a lot of feedback then from these activists, the only thing left and especially after the whole Nelson thing. The only explanation left is that they are seeing, because these things were built during the colonial period, they are seeing these things as vestiges of colonialism, and they're already gone on record in saying that they need to remove every vestige of colonialism from Barbados.
Yeah, but shouldn't they? I understand that, but shouldn't they be following the laws in terms of getting that done? Where are the laws that they're operating under?
Yes, well, the only way that the only loophole there is if the minister has decided that the only work that needs to be done is to demolish it, which means that they definitely have to get a structural engineer to go and inspect it, but that becomes a structural matter. And a lot of these things are structural matters. A lot of these issues that the EPD have listed: structural cracks in the ring beams, structural cracks in the vertical walls. So I guess what they mean is vertical cracks in the structural walls. So quite a few of the things are engineering matters, but they clearly, I don't think they have any engineers that went and looked at these things. I'd be very surprised if they do. So yes, it's a concerning thing. And I think that the minister needs to really get involved and make sure that the law as written is followed, which is, we already pay taxes, therefore use some of that money and fix these buildings so that at least we still have them before we have none left.
So let me ask you something. If that elderly person's house is demolished, that's the end of it? I mean, they get nothing for it?
Yeah, that's what it seems. They get nothing because it's not sold. According to the law seems to be a good law, a very good law, so that if the person simply cannot afford to upkeep the place and it is now it's not habitable and it is just run into ruin, then we, the people of Barbados, have agreed to fix that house. And if the homeowner cannot pay for the repairs, then, well, you sell it, and by public auction, not any secret sale, you sell it by public auction to the highest bidder, and then the money is spent to pay the government back the debt and to give the surplus then to the elderly persons so that they can live out the rest of their lives
But that sounds
in happiness.
reasonable. But that
Of course,
sounds reasonable.
the law is reasonable, so I don't know what they're doing. I just don't understand what they're doing. So someone hopefully could just inquire, or maybe they could just come out public and say, all right, this is the law that we are following, because it clearly cannot be Section 11A of Chapter 44 of the Health Services Act, because that requires the minister to fix the building and then recover the cost from the homeowner, either directly or indirectly through a public auction and sale.
Wow.
So I'm concerned.
Folks, what do you? I want to talk to the viewers. What are your thoughts about what you're hearing here? Here again, we have another the law that you're saying, the Health Services Act, Section 11A, page 44. You're saying?
Well, the Health Services Act is called Chapter 44 of the Laws of Barbados.
Chapter 44, and I'm saying it so that we can go, because we do a lot of education on here. Go ahead. I'm going to go look it up. Health Services Act, Section 11, Chapter 44, to see what it says and what we're hearing from Mr. Grenville Phillips, who's a structural engineer. He's saying, as far as he knows, it doesn't seem as though they're following the law. He doesn't know under what authority they are demolishing these homes, right?
Yes.
These structures.
Yes, but again, it may be in accordance with the law if the minister has decided that the only works that need to be done is demolition, which is so discouraging, because one, we lose the property, but two, the poor homeowner gets nothing. as opposed to let's sell an asset. There's no selling of anything. You just get nothing. So that's not so good. I should note, however, that the Health Services Act, there's also subsidiary legislation which deals specifically. So you have your main law, and then there's subsidiary legislation, and those deal with the things that the EPD were talking about, which is the mosquitoes. There's a separate legislation. It's called the Health Services Act for mosquitoes, though, for the control of mosquitoes. But there's another one that deals with rodent control under the same Health Services Act, but this is subsidiary legislation. And then there's another one dealing with nuisances. But in all of these require they authorize the chief medical officer to go and inspect the place using their public health inspectors, and to identify, well, is there standing water then for mosquitoes? Is there food around the place for the rats? And whatever nuisances they are, and the penalties are fines. Not that you demolish the building; they're fines, and or imprisonment for 3 months if it's mosquitoes, or for a year if it's rodents or nuisances, and or $5,000 plus $200 a day after the conviction. But again, nowhere there can I find demolishing the building.
Right.
So I'm concerned about that.
Yeah, somebody, as we close, somebody here is saying, but if the building is ugly and is in poor state of repair, it should be replaced with a modern design by Bajan architects. You're a structural engineer. What do you say about this?
Well, if the walls are structurally sound, then why not keep them? I'm not understanding. If you ask 100 people, do you think that building is ugly? Some will say yes, some will say no. That's subjective, and therefore you can't say something is ugly. Say it's ugly to you, and maybe ugly to me, but not to the person that built it. No one builds an ugly building, right? They build their dream home. And if their dream home then looks ugly to someone, well, that's them. They can then build what they want on the lot that they want. But this person has gone, found the lot that they want with the views that they want, built the house that they want, and they're happy with it. If they're married and both the husband and the wife like it, well, that's it. Who am I to say it's ugly? So actually, the building that you have shown there, to me, that's a beautiful building, but that's an ugly building. Right?
Yeah.
So maybe to some activists, that's a vestige of colonialism that needs tearing down.
Yeah, wow. My last question to you before you go, and thank you for this enlightenment, really. We saw in the newspaper there was a very lovely house. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, of this elderly couple that was slated for demolition. Did you see that?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Yes, well, that's an error. No one is perfect. That's why I give the government a lot of grace there. No one is perfect. They're going to make some mistakes. They made one there. I suppose the couple could have contacted EPD and tried to resolve it that way. Maybe they did. Maybe, like me, they called and couldn't get through. So they went to the paper because they were obviously alarmed to see that their property is there, scheduled for demolition. And certainly, it probably had one of these things. Right, one of these conditions. So the person, so it's either a genuine mistake, or it's not a mistake because the person saw that there was maybe a slight crack in the ring beam and decided, well, it met the condition.
Right.
Right. It was likely to cause a nuisance. Maybe they didn't realize it was occupied.
Because you said likely. It says likely.
It's too broad. It's too broad a net. It's too broad a net, right? As I said, just about every house in Barbados it could fall under that. Every house.
Yes, every house. Wow.
So it's too broad a net. It captures everyone, and I really don't like these kind of things where you make everyone guilty, so that you have to go cap in hand and begging to get some relief from whoever. We shouldn't write laws like this, where we make everyone guilty, and then you then have people just as slaves, just begging. So this is not how it should be.
Yeah. So, you know, as we close this segment, Mr. Phillips, which has been very, very informative, I want, what do you want to say to Barbadians who are listening? A lot of people are hearing this for the first time, because it's not something that you're seeing. The first time I saw, you know, was when you wrote about it. What do you want to say to Barbadians who are listening to you tonight?
This is the Barbados in which we live. We are now a republic. We do not have any oversight, any accountability anymore. So this is now the new Barbados that we live in. And we have to get used to it and learn how to operate in this new Barbados. We are fortunate so far that we are not being rounded up. Those who speak against the government, or those who express ideas that are against what the minister or the government is doing, we are able to do that, and that's good. And that's democracy. Democracy is when persons who thinking persons, or persons with a conscience, or persons with integrity, see something, and for the good of the nation, not trying to tear down a political party, not trying to embarrass really the government, just they want what is best for the country in which they live, and they see things, and where it is small things, then we should not be yapping at the government's heels. Allow the government to govern. And the way that we have it is every 5 years, you get, if you think that you could do a better job, let's form a political party and let the public know what you plan to do and see if that works out. But we live in a democracy where we are free to express our ideas so far, and the government has allowed that, so we are thankful to that. But the problem is that we have formed this republic so that it is vulnerable for someone else, not this current government, I don't think, but some other government, to take advantage of this and turn us into a dictatorship very quickly. We are now so vulnerable, and unfortunately, none of the parties see how vulnerable we are. So we just live for the Lord. Live for the Lord. Do our best. Try to help each other out.
Continue to speak out. I am one who believe that I don't agree with this. Allow them to govern. I believe that we need to speak out when we have an issue to speak out on, as Crystal Haynes, and as you are doing tonight.
Yes, but one quick thing. As I said, because we're in this environment, this right now it is a safe environment. Right now, as I said, we are rewriting the Constitution to make it so much easier for innocent persons to be harmed, unfortunately. But right now things are fairly calm. So people have to decide what hill are you willing to die on. And as for me and my house, it is I'd rather be martyred serving Christ, trying to get people reconciled to God, to know God, the only creator of all that is seen and unseen. Try to get reconciled to him, know him, develop a personal relationship with him, grow in your knowledge of him by helping others without asking anything in return, just helping others, forgive everyone, try to advance people. So those sort of things I'm willing to die for. I'm not willing to die for a stonemasonry house. So I'll bring it up. And if the government then says, all right, if you talk about stonemasonry houses one more time, you go to jail, then I'll keep quiet about it. I'll keep quiet about it. But I'm willing to go to jail for Christ.
Until the cybercrime bill comes. Well, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mr. Grenville Phillips, and we hope
Yes.
the cybercrime bill won't come. So when you are preaching the gospel and it goes
Yes.
against and hurts somebody's feelings, you're not brought to prison. But thank you
Yes.
so much for coming on tonight. God bless you.
Thank you, and God bless you too.
Yes, okay. Bye-bye, bye-bye. Thank you so much, Mr. Phillips, for coming on and for educating us about these stone wall buildings that are being demolished. Over 50% of these buildings have been demolished over the last 7 years. Okay, over 1,000 have been, they put a sledgehammer to them and destroyed them, so that those elderly people, it's, you know, people who own those buildings, according to what Mr. Phillips is saying, the Health Services Act, Section 11, Chapter 44, what that says is that they basically they need to get a structural engineer, and they need to be able to determine if the walls are sound, etc. And if the person can't repair it, the government repairs it, and the home is put up for public sale, and the government takes the money that they have invested in it to repair it, and then give the elderly person what is remaining. That is such a fair law. And the big question is, why aren't we following the law? I just want to say that I believe that, you know, God is a just God. And so a law like this is there to bring justice to the person. When you're not following the law, it's unjust. And that is why you will have people speaking out against it. I want to thank Mr. Phillips for joining us tonight. I'm seeing right there, Miss Maxine McLean is ready to come in. Let me just welcome. Yeah,
and away.
And away. We need to tell him what happened to you last time.
Oh, yes, you can. All right.
While you were here calling for Miss McLean. Miss McLean, where are you? Where are you? Miss McLean was in another land, fast asleep. I heard from her way after the show was done, after 11. I'm getting ready to go to my Marcia just got up.
I was tired. And it was supposed to be a nap, but it turned into sleep.
Yes, I know. But Miss McLean, we're so happy to have you here tonight. And before we go to, we're going to delve in tonight, guys, into the ministerial speech that was given in Parliament today by the Honorable Minister Duguid. We're going to look at that speech. We have the written version of it, and we're going to go through the speech with you. So we're going to be a little late in the calling in. So we're going to call in tonight. We're going to start calling in at 9:20, just to give us some time to go through the speech. But before you go there, Miss McLean, there is something that I want to touch on tonight. We're going to delve into it a little later. And I know that I believe I can raise this with you because your parents, you know, were proud, Black people, you know, and they did everything to leave a legacy for you and your brothers and sisters, etc. Now I'm hearing about a lot of this compulsory acquisition of land. I want Barbadians to open your ears and hear me. And I literally can hear Nigel Newton in my ears talking about the recolonization of Barbados. Now, I'm getting to understand that there are there's some compulsory acquisition of land that is going on. And often what's happening is to allow these developers, these foreign developers, to be able to put up their hotels or do whatever kind of construction that is needed in this redevelopment of Barbados that we never agreed on. Nobody agreed on it, but that is what they're doing. And it made me wonder. I don't have the facts on this, guys, but it makes me wonder, how did we the land at Trents that we showed, I don't know if you saw that, Miss McLean, we were there bulldozing the land down. This was even before we were told that the deal was completed, they are bulldozing that land down, and I'm really wondering who that land at Trent belonged to. I have to wonder, because that land was there for so many years. Was it government land, Miss McLean, or was it private land? And if it was,
from what I heard, it is private land, and I want to, I will show you why.
It is. You heard that it's private land.
Yeah. In fact, while I was listening to the program, I was reading the ministerial statement, and the Minister Duguid made reference. I don't call him good because the actions that I'm seeing ain't good at all. So while you can't call the name, you give him the honor of calling him good. We gotta get a little levity in all of this. But I sent a short clip to Dave, and I think if Dave can bring it up, it would help you to explain how I've concluded that it is private land, because it talked about, first of all, it couldn't be government land if it was acquired, because if it were government land, it would be vested.
I see.
In the agency that controls land. So let's say it was government land, but they probably had to vest it in national housing or BTII or whatever. So I think two things. One, that little clip is something from January, which was carried in the media, would clarify that. So if Dave can bring it up, I sent him an email. I hope he was able to get it.
Yes, I'm sure he will look for it. So in the meantime,
and in that, what Minister Duguid was saying, and I wrote a note here. He said it does not lie comment. Okay, let's play that and listen, so I don't have to read what he said. If
yes,
you can.
Go ahead, Dave, please. Thank you.
New location that we have identified for acquisition now, that would then house the new Civic Center, does not lie in that 100-year floodline. And it is obviously the policy of this government to move our critical infrastructure out of flood-prone areas and into areas that would be protected. And this is one area that would not be impacted on the 100-year floodline. And I think that in addition to everything else, is critical to the development and by extension, the acquisition that we're now doing. Also, Madam Deputy Speaker, in addition to
no, let finish. It's short.
Okay.
what we will give an opportunity in this area to do is to provide a parking facility. Now, as you know, at the current Civic Center, parking is exceedingly limited.
Okay, that it was short, so that was it. Now, as I indicated, he said land for acquisition, and he said two things. He said it did not lie in the 100-year floodline. In other words, they are moving across the street because they figure it is not as flood prone as across on the seaside. Now, the other thing that I noticed in there on when I was looking at the video, it referred to 7.49 hectares of land at Trents. I converted that 7.49 hectares of land at Trents to the equivalent of hectares 2.471. So I'll just round it to 2.47 acres. Okay, so 7.49 hectares is approximately 18.51 acres of land. 18.51 acres. And that 18.51 acres translates into approximately, write this number down, Marcia, because I sat down, all of this came to me as I was listening to the show and reading the thing when I saw the reference to the size. Now, if it is 7.48 hectares or 18.50 acres, we are talking about 806,217 square feet of land. And
repeat that number,
806,000, not 8,000, 806. 217, 806,217. Now you talk about my family. I am one of 11 children. My grandfather, I never met him. He died before I was born. My paternal grandfather invested in the Black Star Liner. He bought land. Sadly, my father's siblings felt the need to sell that land. So generations of McLeans and the extended family did not get to benefit. And this is important because he indicated it did not lie in the 100-year floodline. Now, my question is, with so much land, what are the prospects for the owners because acquisition suggests it's privately owned. Okay.
Mhm.
Because it is privately owned and because it is such a large tract of land, who are the owners or who is the owner? I don't know if it's a single owner, if it is a several individuals or whatever. But the point is, the sum total of that land is 18.5 acres.
Mhm.
And I will quickly share something. In the early 2000s, somewhere around 2005, 6 or whatever, I became president of the city of Bridgetown. My credit union had bought 23 acres of land opposite Port St. Charles. I don't have time to go into it. An offer was made to buy that land. It was not attractive because it was one of the first things that came to my attention, that came to me as president. And some ridiculous offers were made. But one of these days you may have me talk about that. The long and short of it, as Bajans would say, it was bought to develop housing for the credit union members, but developments around it took place, which meant that the value of that land also went up.
Mhm.
The credit union paid, I don't want to tell lies, I think it was either $1.something million for the land back more than 20 years ago. It was sold to a would-be developer for about $16 million. You understand?
Mhm.
And it is a similar situation to what we are seeing in terms of these cities, the current beach land that the government owns and the one that it wants to acquire on the other side of the road. Now, I sat down, and so you asked a very important question. Who owns this land? What does compulsory acquisition mean? How much? And this is where I would become very concerned if it was my land or my family's land or whoever land. How much will the government pay the owners for this land? And let me tell you, I don't know. I am just using a number. Beach land is expensive. But if you have that kind of development, because remember, this is near to things like it's Holetown, the Gold Coast, Sandy Lane at one point on the shore, on the coastline. We have this, that. We have the lovely upmarket shopping facility with all the fancy stores, etc. Round the corner from there, we have this historic building. So let me put it this way. If I want to go and buy a piece of land in most developed developments like where I'm living now, I can't remember how much I paid for the land I'm living now, but I can tell you that if I had to buy this land, if I had a vacant lot around here, the person was not going to charge me less than about $20 a square foot. So I'm just pulling that figure out of my head. It is probably less than you would pay for that if a person went to the owner and said, I want to buy this land. So if you multiply 806,217 square feet by $20, Marcia, you know how much they will go fork out to pay that person? In excess of $16 million. You want me to do arithmetic again?
Go again.
806,217.
Right.
806,000 multiplied by 217. By $20 will give you 16. Even if it was $10, it would be a minimum of $8 million.
Wow.
So in essence, the question I would ask, Miss, and that's why I did this, because as I sat down reading it and I looked at that number, I said, but hold on a minute, was this really worth to the owner? Right? And so when as I said, I am not into real estate, but I also know something about buying a piece of land and selling a piece of land. So when you tell me that you want on the Gold Coast to build something that is of high value, you go down the street, you're going to Sandy Lane Estates, all around there are high net worth properties. So my question is, so we can start to look at the legislation now. Not the legislation, the ministerial statement, and I will pose some questions to Minister Duguay, because he is saying that, you know, they're not trying to be hiding anything. So if you go, as you scroll up,
Miss, before you go there, Miss McLean, there's a saying, and I don't know if you if you remember it. It says, I was trying to find it online, and it says when they came for this, like they were using it to talk about the Jews,
Okay, they came for so and so, and it wasn't us. So in
Yes,
essence,
I
it wasn't
want
me, so I wasn't concerned. And then
Right.
they came for XY, and you continued until they got to that person. In other words, it didn't matter. But then, of course, when it came to you and you were the lone standing, there was nobody to stand up for you.
there is nobody to stand up for you.
I will find it.
No, it's fine. I think I
You
have
got
it here, right?
Okay.
What I want to say to us Barbadians, all of us, is to remember Miss Ram. Remember what happened to Miss Ram. That was her private land. The government went and said, we want that land. And we want that land to give it to a private developer. And you know what we did? You know what we
said nothing. We said nothing. For the most part. Most people were silent.
We went silent because it's Miss Ram. But here it is. They are ready now to come to take Black people land. That in their family, although we don't know the owner really of Trent, but because of the area we're assuming. Or it can be wherever. We see the compulsory acquisitions that's happening all over Barbados, and they're taking our land so that they can give it to these foreign investors. And it's the same thing that happened to Miss Ram. But first they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist, right? Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak up because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak up because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak up because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. They are right now, as far as I saw in the newspaper, Ms. McLean, compulsory acquisition by the government, they are in debt. They are, first of all, they're paying some of these people by bonds. Your good land, you get up and they offer you bonds. A lot of these people, the government is I saw was $300 million, Ms. McLean, in debt to these people that they go and they tell them, we buying your land. Yes.
The process is long and slow. In fact, I can tell you, if I go back and look, I grew up on Black Rock Main Road, and over my lifetime from childhood, the government took off bits and pieces of land to extend. I mean, it's still a narrow highway. One is still narrow, but it was not as wide as it used to be. It was not as wide as it is now. Let me put it that way. And I can't tell. I think my father died, and they probably owe him for a piece of land. You understand? My father died in 2003, 22 years ago. You understand? So now somebody's asked the question: have land records burnt in archives? Now, looking at this statement, Marcia, and I took the time to highlight some areas of it. So, the opening statement, it says, most interestingly, and the audience can read the first paragraph. Most interestingly, there have been calls from some for the government to reveal all ALL the facts surrounding this project. And that's why when I read that and I saw the size of the land, well, you know how my mind works. I started to do some calculations. Reveal all the facts surrounding this project. In essence, given the impression that the government has been withholding information. I am not sure if they're withholding, but they haven't shared all of it because we don't know who the land belongs to. We don't know the full quantity of land. Well, I guess we can go back and see if we can find the amount. It may be in here. So he says there's nothing that could be further from the truth. It goes on then to give information on the next paragraph. It says that there were published notices in the newspaper. I got a call from a couple of people when they heard the minister today in Parliament reading the ministerial statement to ask me if I was aware. I was trying to search this evening as I waited, as I listened to the show. And according to Minister Duguid, he says we've been speaking about our plans for the redevelopment of the site of the Civic Center for a considerable period. What? Well, that information that I shared was January. If a liar die, I think it was January this year. The clip that Dave put up for us just now. So that I can tell you is something that's on record that I was able to find because I was checking for newspaper stories, etc. Carry it down
But
there.
Ms. McLean, I don't want to think, but I have to. This is
No,
the
that's
kind
fine.
of thing.
We gotta flesh this out.
This is the thing that gets me annoyed, because my understanding and my little research tells me that not even there were people within on their team who did not know much about this this development here. So if you are people, this is my research told me that. And we are now listening to this Pinocchio telling us that it was discussed considerably.
Well, it might have been discussed considerably with the developers, with him. Remember he's senior minister infrastructure or something or the other. So he deals with this thing. So the prime minister would have been part of these negotiations. But I would ask, well, the last time I tried to get information from my MP, her response to me was thank you. So, and that was a minor matter in relative terms. So I don't know if she would be able to tell me, but it would be interesting for constituents to ask their respective members of parliament to tell them how much they have known about this project. And I use the words of the Minister Duguay, the senior minister, how much have they known for a considerable period. So in essence, they're supposed to have been doing this. Now, he used an expression here, and that's when you said that there's work going on the site.
Mm-hmm.
Well, according to them, he said, we are well aware that you can hide and buy land, but you cannot hide and work it. It is simply not possible. We all know that's a lovely Bajan expression.
Yes.
And that is true. But my question is, there's work going on? Question, yes or no? People have said that they've seen work. I haven't been down that part of the island in the last couple of weeks.
I went down there with my camera.
Okay.
And I was with a historian that I respect,
Okay.
Mr. Morris Greenwich, and we saw that there is work going on. As you said, you can hide and buy it, but you can't hide and work it. And they are already demolishing. They're removing the trees. This has been going on for weeks there.
Okay.
Down there at Trents. That's Trents you're looking at. It's been happening. And the goodly historian that I believe the historian over these politicians, who said to me, Marcia, this is a flood-prone zone area.
Well, I hearing so.
Yes, that's what Morris Greenwich told me. And I believe Morris Greenwich. I refuse to believe somebody who said that there's no deal, and then later they put out something that a Canadian developer bought it. I will believe Morris Greenwich that this is a flood-prone area. Ms. McLean, will be interested to know what zone this piece of land was in, but we don't have that.
Because you've raised another important issue, because I think we need to dissect these things. Now, this is land, it is a large, in the context of Barbados, this is a relatively large tract of land, okay, a large piece of land. It is privately owned. Now, my question is, there's several questions. One, who are the owners? Are they high net worth people? Are they ordinary working Bajans who had, the vision to purchase land years and years ago, and perhaps have not been able to develop it yet? Or are they sitting somewhere else on other land and decide that this will be allocated to future generations? Have they applied for permission to do something, and has it been denied? Now, you mentioned the zones outside of the issue of water and so on, because I remember there was a hotel, what's its name? It's on the seaside. My niece came, her wedding was there. And I remember it's a hotel where when you got heavy rains, the water would literally sometimes go into the lobby, because it happened while she was here. I can see a white hotel with large columns and white painted. Anyhow, the name will come back to me. But so the question is, what is the situation there? I mean, and the zoning, because you remember that after the government came into office, there was a pretty early rezoning, and it might have been in the works. I would have to go back and look, but I know that there was a rezoning. For example, the area of the Bell Waterfords.
Yes.
Zone, because they've changed from 1, 2, and whatever to A, B, and whatever else like that. I was trying to have to find the actual codes, and we can come back to this because this is a major issue.
It's a major issue.
The point is that the Zone 1 areas were those that you felt that you would probably damage the water table and so on if you got into construction. And so the question is, what was, according to the long-standing zoning arrangements for Barbados, how was this piece of land classified? Has that classification effectively changed with the new zoning categories? And is that something that might have prevented the owners from developing the area? Because if there were restrictions then, I mean, no government could normally give unless they put some fairly stringent things in place. So, when Minister Duguid talks about people have this notion that they have not been upfront with all the information, I would put some questions to Dr. Duguid, to the Prime Minister of Barbados, who is ultimately responsible for town and country planning. And those questions will be: 1, who are the current owners of this land? 2, what was the original zoning classification for this land? If it has changed, to what it has changed, and what are the implications of that change? 3, with the compulsory acquisition, are you, this 7.49 hectares that I saw referred to in the clip that we showed just now, it was if anybody Googles it, they will see it underneath, written on somewhere under one of those YouTube videos that obviously was extracted from Parliament. Of that land, are they acquired? Is that all the property of these owners that they've acquired? And to what? And then, of course, what are they paying? I did a calculation. As I said, I didn't pull it out of the blue. I took it in relation to a piece of land that was owned by my credit union. I can tell you that when the developers of Port St. Charles wanted to acquire it to put into their project, I was president. That did not go through because what they offered made no sense. But later on, it was sold. I was not part of that, but clearly it was sold, and I could, in another situation, give you the full details of that. But at the end of the day, the piece of land that was paid for by the credit union for, I believe it was less than $2 million, in fact, I'll add this one. One developer wanted to pay $10 million for this land. I think we paid 1.2 million or something for it at the time, back in either late 90s or early 2000. They wanted to pay 10 million and paid the 10% deposit. And they were supposed to develop, and at that time, Prime Minister Oinatha had created something called special development areas, where investors were given incentives. They applied for the incentives, but when the application was considered, it was identified that what they wanted to do did not qualify. They came back to the credit union and said, look, we can't buy it again because we without the incentives, we can't do what we want to do, but they didn't qualify. So we ended up, they had to forfeit the 10%. And then we turned around and sold it for in excess of $15 million over 20 years ago, or about 20 years ago. So the point I'm making, that's further north, that's in St. Peter, but it is the same kind of situation. You are looking to construct something high net worth, high in the case of those condos or whatever you call them at Port St. Charles, those residences, they're not cheap. From what I'm reading, it is not cheap. So we can probably see some more. So I say to Mr. Duguid and to his boss, the Prime Minister of Barbados, come clean. You only give us half the story. Perhaps you may say people didn't ask, but I asking now on behalf of the loyal opposition, the members of the Barbados Labour Party who want to know, and the rest of Barbados, all of us want to know. So people, as you said, people within the bosom of the Barbados Labour Party, which is the party in power right now, they want to know too. Because some of them call me and say, we don't know nothing. I'm not talking about members of parliament, I'm talking about members of the party and supporters of the party. Anyhow, Dave, could you probably go? I think I have something else highlighted further down.
Yeah. And then DeVere Smith, DeVere Smith and Lemuel Tull is saying something to us about the zones. So
Okay.
I wrote that down for me to tell you afterwards.
Okay. And he says, Mr. Speaker, the public engagement with respect to this matters dates back a full 3 years to August 31, 2021, when through its executing agency, the Barbados Tourism Investment Inc., BTII, published in the Nation newspaper a public advertisement soliciting RFPs, requests for proposals. The ad set out very clearly what government's plans relating to the 3.6 acres. Now that 3.6 acres refers to the land on the seaside that is now the town center. It houses the Holetown Police Station, the Holetown Library, the Holetown Post Office, the Magistrates Court, as well as the offices. So they are selling 3.6 acres. Question is, how much are the taxpayers, because this money don't belong to the government ministers, it belongs to the taxpayers. How much are they selling that for? 3.6 acres. Of course, it is on the seaside, but it would be interesting to know. So they're telling you that they're selling 3.6 acres, and according to this thing, acquiring 7.49 hectares, including making a car park. Because remember, at the end, now you're taking land to create a car park on property that could have been developed for condos for the owners. So you may not have a high-rise hotel, but you might have had some tastefully designed fitting with the whole historic, the historic nature of the area. Yes. That would have brought money to the owners, or could be sold, either for whatever arrangement. So in essence, you are looking to, VHOI is saying I'm in the diaspora and I can't even buy the sand on the beach. This raises another issue, because it's going to send me to do some research. If I might digress a bit, you see this? I have a niece living in England, one of my late brother's daughters. Her mother's father was a fisherman who lived on a beach in St. James, because that whole area, and you can imagine, this was a small chattel house. Somebody bought that property because they were expanding some other properties they had. But this is what that person did. They paid for the land, including the construction of a house that would have been just about equivalent or more than equivalent to the one they purchased. It would be interesting for me to find out how many, because that was some years ago, if my niece could find out from her aunts and uncles or whatever, what her maternal grandfather received for that. So you see, when you look at all of these things, there's a lot of questions, you know. So
look at Nina's question on the you're raising us.
An insurance company or a developer. Are they investing in development, or is this another entity? Now, ICBL is an insurance company. Of course, a company can have multiple business elements. But the insurance company may be owned by a parent company that is into other activities, right? But it would be interesting to delve into this some more.
Yeah, we would want to know who those other entities are.
Right.
If there are other
what exactly is, as you say, what exactly is ICBL's interest in here? Why, and how it got involved in this particular project? I find it very interesting. So Dave, scroll down some more, because I have something I believe somewhere in red. And so Marcy, I mean, we have not even gotten this let me pull up this thing. This thing is
wow. I'm getting something here, Miss McLean. That application for the Trent area, this information they got from someone get it from the town planning registers, was only made in January 2024.
Okay.
So when he's talking about this considerable whatever, I don't know,
Right.
but this application was made in January 2024.
So this is an application by the developer and the question is, what are they applying for? Because I mean, you see, and it will be interesting because the thing about town planning, that information.
Can I read what it says here? I have the application, part of the application.
Please
Thank
do.
you. Listen, I'm getting so many things in my phone, Miss McLean. The people are vigilant. You're watching from the
cannot
time.
let this drop.
You can't let it drop. Barbados, not this one. Don't let it drop, Barbados, because they're telling us, I believe they're telling lies. Formal application submitted. Applicant is the Barbados Tourism Inc. So they are right. Yes. The agent is Bain Planning and Development, and it's a lot 4, 5, and 6 at Trent, St. James. Erection description is the erection of buildings, so they use as a civic center and formation of vehicle access, and they have the coordinates and so on. So that's the formal application was made in January 2024. Thank you. I can't call names, but I have more things in my phone here. People are sending me, Miss McLean, about this situation.
What you will do, because I know that the time is gonna go. We obviously can pull that information, but let me deal with this whole question because you mentioned something, lot 4, 5, and 6. The question I would therefore ask, Mr. Duguid and the government of Barbados, posing the question directly to the Prime Minister because she's the one who tends to speak on things. When we say 4, 5, and 6, what specifics, and this may be in the application, is this, in relation to this 7.49 hectares, would the 4, 5, and 6, lots 4, 5, and 6 add up to 7.49 hectares, or is this a subset of that they've applied for initially? But you just put me onto something there, Marcy, because what we need to do is to read the applications in full and to look and see what other applications have been made, because there's talk about the physical buildings to replace, and that would constitute the town center, the offices of the police, the courts, land tax, etc., etc. There's talk about a car park as well, because obviously when you put construction, and if you have a significantly large high rise, you're going to have corresponding car park facilities, etc.
Yes.
So is that kind of detail. So don't tell me, Mr. Duguid, that you've not been hiding. I'm not saying you were hiding. You have not disclosed it in full, perhaps because people did not have a full understanding of what was proposed. You could go to a town hall meeting and share some information. My question would be, what was the nature of the information? How fulsome was it? How much detail, in essence, did you provide? Were people there able to ask questions or even interested in asking? Because those town halls, was it a special town hall to deal with this, or was it part of some other information? I always say, Marcia, to explain is to expose. And what this is exposing for me is that full explanations have not been given, So.
Yeah. This is, wow. This is things are coming in. People are saying that I would love for DeVere Smith and Lemuel Tull. DeVere Smith and Lemuel Tull, can you please take my number, give me a call after the show? I need to understand about the zoning. What do you know of this area before they went and rezoned? Because we realize what's going on, because they know what they plan to do. They have now rezoned the area, and we've done this extensively, Miss McLean, on the show, where they rezone Barbados so that they can carry out the construction and the selling of the land and all these different things. That's why they sold a piece of land in St. Joseph to a developer, that is now sinking because the land was not to be built on, but they've rezoned. And so I want to know what the original zoning was for the Trent's land. So I think Lemuel Tull and DeVere Smith seem to be onto something. Give me a call after the show, 236-7000. We're going to get to the bottom of this. Go ahead, Miss McLean.
But you know, I'm just going to follow up on the rezoning, because I mean, a government has to plan and so on. But when you start to look at the nature of the plans and the work that is done in terms of a legislative framework, because that is important. If you're looking to undertake, I mean, because you have a strategic plan, you have short, medium, and long-term plans, etc. And you therefore have to look and say, to what extent do our policies or legislation, etc., facilitate or hinder? But then there's also the possibility of a government taking decisions that are not necessarily in the interest of the country, that benefit a few. I mean, I if you follow what's going on up north right now, you would hear people speaking of the results of certain actions taken.
Yeah, we don't want to go up there.
You know, I know, but I'm just saying, this is what I'm saying, but the facts are there. Certain actions are taken which has certain consequences. And so my point is, when we look at the actions taken and the consequences are the consequences in the case of Barbados, benefiting the majority, because I hear people talk about, I mean, somebody made the point, and I listened to a call-in program, we need foreign direct investment. Yes, we need domestic investment as well. We need to recognize the constraints of the domestic, the individual in the domestic sphere. In other words, individuals like myself, I don't have a lot of money to invest, but perhaps if there are projects where I can pool my few $1,000s with that of 50,000 Barbadians, we can have projects that benefit us, right? So my point is that when you start to look at this, the decision to rezone may have less to do with what is in the ultimate interest and benefit of this country, and more to do with preparing a playing field for investors who want to do very specific things that they could not ordinarily do. And for example, if you remember the document that we looked at last time, it was the RFP, where a commitment was essentially made to say, listen, if the structure, the system that we have in place, the committees that we have in place to vet this application doesn't come back with a yes, don't worry. That is not the end of the process, you know. So if you look at something and say, oh, I would love to put something over there, notwithstanding the historical significance and the incongruity of it in the context of what you have there, because you're not saying, let us put something that fits in with the history of the place, the architecture and whatever else. So in order to do what I want to do, you're going to have to change these rules, notwithstanding the fact that the rules may not be maximally beneficial to the country and to the people of the country.
Correct, Miss McLean. I'm getting information in my phone here, trying to get some source documents on it. Let me tell you, Barbadians are not letting this go. My phone is going crazy. That's why you see me on it. I see Roses. Rose is here with us. Michelle is still here. And I'm being told by two persons, actually 3 persons, are saying that the original zoning of this land at Trent was a water zone. And if that is true, which we're by the next show, we're going to be able to come with some and verify this. If that is true, it would have meant, Miss McLean, that the owners, whoever the owners are, they would not have been able to do any development on this land. Now that is going to be interesting. So is it that the government rezoned it so that they could facilitate these developers, the foreign developers? Did they rezone it so that they could do that? The big question is, the people who originally owned the land, would they have been able to put any structure on the land and develop the land?
That's an important question. That is an important question. You see, That is serious, you know.
Yeah, wow. This is something else. Let me just bring Rose and Michelle in. Rose and Michelle, good evening again. Are you there?
Good night. Good night.
Yes, thank you. While they come in, I'm going to ask people to call in. Call in. I know a lot of you are typing and sending me stuff. But I would like for you to call in 1-246-236-7000. We want to hear from you. Barbados, don't let go this one. You hear? And those of you who are Christian people, you say we're only focusing on one thing. Well, the Bible says you are to occupy. You are to occupy until he comes. If you believe in that, I'm speaking to those who are of that belief. I'm not of the belief that all you do is save people's souls. If not, we would not be here. We would be saved and dead. Okay? We are here and we need to occupy. All right? So I want those of you to call in. The phone is here. Call in. Let me hear from Michelle. Miss McLean, go ahead, Michelle.
I just had some thoughts. When you was listening to the gentleman who's the engineer. Is that Mr. Grenville?
Yeah, Grenville Griffiths. Yeah.
Yes.
Grenville Phillips.
Yes, he said something that was I felt when he said that we are vulnerable. We're vulnerable. You know, I always look at things as a glass half full than half empty. I feel like the opposition has a unique opportunity. They can start from scratch, meaning like this here is something that they can, I mean, I don't know the best way to explain it. As far as I'm concerned, it's like there's no rules. So the opposition really is in a unique position to pave the way, pave a better way for Barbados right now. So, you know, when I listened to him, he said vulnerable, but I feel like it's a greater opportunity to set Barbados on a right path. The doors are open, and you know, with some serious leadership and commitment, this can set Barbados in an absolutely totally different direction, because we're, you know, the government right now is all over the place. We don't know from land, from sea. We don't know what's going on. So I think that the opposition is in a unique position to actually just rewrite the whole thing altogether.
Yes. I think so as well. And I'm glad. I'm thanking you for saying that. Now, right now, what I'm seeing, somebody asked a question here. Where is that important question? Is it Pedro? Come on, guys. We're on this thing together. We didn't learn. We didn't have to get education for nothing. Let them know we're not letting go of this, because this whole statement is riddled with lies. Listen, what year did it get rezoned? I sent you, Dave. Let me tell you, the loyal opposition on it, Miss McLean. I got something in my phone here that tells us when the rezoning was announced, and it seemed to have been announced in 2019. Dave, can you put this for me, please? Because they need to, it seems to me, it appears to me, and the government will, because they listen to the program, because all of a sudden, they are now putting up the RFP. They're speaking about it in Parliament, Miss McLean, because we drew them out from the show. So they need to come and tell us what was the zoning for. Was it zone 1, Mr. DeGood, that was waterlogged, and all you did, you went ahead and changed the zoning so you can do what you want to do? Is that what you're doing? As you did with the geriatric hospital, you changed the zoning and to put the hospital, move it from where it was so you can sell that land, and you put the geriatric hospital at another inland and change the zone so that you can do what you want. Is it that you went and changed the laws to do what you want to do? So here it is, Dave. Thanks so much, Dave. What does it say here? Okay, let's see. I saw it. Check the other one. I think there were 2 that they sent us. Oh, it's right here. You're right, Dave.
Yeah,
it's right
right
here. It's right here. Go up some more, please.
Continue scrolling down a bit.
Keep growing, scrolling down a bit.
Okay, stop there a second. Some features of the new policy are we no longer have zones 1 to 5. Instead, we have, as I said, they went from numbers to letters A to E. Zone A is strict exclusion zone, which is smaller in area than the existing zone. So that's why, for example, in the Bell, they've done that. Go further, Dave. There's no new development. Zone B is a pathogen management zone with stricter rules for sewage treatment and disposal. C is a chemicals management zone. D is a recharge controlling zone, whatever that means, which encompasses the rest of the limestone area with continued status for wastewater treatment, and zone E is a non-recharge contribution area. What I can undertake, Marcy, is to speak to somebody who knows something about there was a water study done some years ago, and I'll ask a couple of people who are in this field to explain that within the context of construction, right? Because continue, Dave, let's see if there's anything else there which speaks to that. Okay, we want the public to air their views and their concerns at the end of that process. You know, we do things and then we ask what people think rather than the other way around.
Right. And so you see, so this is what is happening. And I remember on this very show, we spent nights and nights. Remember, Miss McLean?
Right.
Going over this zoning issue and what it is going to, what it means to Barbados. And this because I can imagine, okay, Rose is there. Okay, I didn't see her earlier. I can imagine, Ms. Corbin, if I had my land and I could not develop my land, okay? Say I could not develop my land, and then all of a sudden the government decides I want the land that I want the land you're on, and then changes the zoning requirement, changes the zoning, and then now all of a sudden they're now building on the land that I could not build on for years. I don't know about if it happened in this particular thing, but because everybody's saying it is waterlogged, everybody in the area, we were in the community. Historian Maurice Greenidge told me he is from the area, from St. James, and he told me, Miss McLean, in no uncertain terms, he said, Marcia, this is a flood area. It's a flood-prone zone. I believe Maurice Greenidge. And if he's telling us that, what has the government done to put this? Have they changed the zone to put this now into a different zone that allows them, gives them the authority now to build on that? I don't know if Rose has any comment on all of this here while we wait on people to call. Ms. Corbin, you're muted. You're muted.
Yes, thank you, Marcia, and thank you, Maxine, for your covering, your exposition on this matter. As usual, well researched and well presented. And I would say, Marcia, that what we're discussing is cloaked in unethical practice. It lacks principle. It lacks transparency. And I don't live in that area, but I have persons who are in that area, and I do know that from Sunset Crest, in the areas in Sunset Crest, especially near to the coast, when we have just a few drizzles of rain, all down that area is flooded out. I do know that Jamestown Park, which is quite near, gets flooded out too. It is the building of the canal that they have that has eased somewhat the flooding out of Jamestown Park. And what they have done, and I want to go back to Minister Dugre's statement, which I had a little chuckle, Marcia Maxine and our other guests, when he said that they met with interested persons and stakeholders. And I'm wondering, that was quick. Who did they meet with? Did they engage the community of Trents? Did they engage the community of, what do you call it, First Street? First Street, just a little ways down the road. Did you engage the community of Jamestown Park? Even further up Sunset Crest, because it will be affecting them. Did they engage these persons? Did they engage the wider Barbadian public who has interests and what's happening? But he did say that he met with stakeholders and persons. And Marcia, I feel that were it not for Wednesday night's show with a male presenter who asked some pertinent questions and raised the matter and said, we are seeking answers, Marcia, beyond your walkthrough, beyond the Wayside Parliament meeting a couple Sundays back. I believe in listening to this program, we got the response, because if you listen to Minister Dugre's response, he was responding to those questions raised by that caller. And one of the things, could I continue or should I break, Marcia? Because
no, continue, because we're waiting on calls.
Okay.
I'll tell you when I'll bring in Miss McLean or Michelle. Go ahead.
Yes, please. I have here pulled up from it was the 18th of February 2025, an article in the Barbados Today captioned Government Civic Center demolition not a done deal in inverted commas amid backlash. And it went on to say, and I'm paraphrasing, that the government on Monday said that the planned project is not a done deal. I'm not calling the Honorable Minister Dugre Pinocchio. I'm not calling him that. He was my dentist, a gentleman, genteel, caring. I think his public office this time around has changed the gentleman. I've known him to be caring, thoughtful, a different person. Yes, he's grown older, but there's something not sitting well. And according to the article, Dr. William Dugre, Minister of Planning and Development and Senior Minister in the Prime Minister's Office with responsibility for coordinating infrastructural projects and Development Commission, said no final decision has been made on pushing ahead with the project, which is currently being taken under advisement. He told the Barbados Today, we haven't gotten that far as yet. People feel we have gotten that far. We haven't gotten that far as yet. The first thing to be done is to acquire the land, which we are in the process of doing. That is as far as we have gotten. And he continued when asked if the government would still go ahead with the venture in the face of ongoing intense opposition to the planned demolition of the centuries-old site that stands in the shadow of a monument to the island's European settlement in 1627, Dr. Duguid responded, "Well, we're here and we take it under advisement. No decisions on that yet, but we are starting with the land acquisition." Now, I know as someone who sought to buy land and acquire land, that it takes longer than the date on which this conversation occurred, this interview. The 18th of February 2025, they were looking at acquiring the land. And what is today's date? Huh? Today is the 7th.
Today is the 7th, but Rose, can I ask you to, Mrs. Corbin, just hold your thought there. There's a caller on the line. Please, put a pencil there, a little note there, okay? Good night, caller. Good night.
Good night. How are you?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Great to hear from you. What's on your mind?
First, I want to say hi to my fellow Diasporian. This is Daniel, or Miss Danielle.
Yes.
Good night, and good night to the others as well.
Yes.
Last time I was on, I spoke about the importance of having leader of the opposition is a constitutional governance office that every parliament requires. So to have a parliament constituted without a leader of the opposition was kind of problematic. Tonight, I just want to deal with the whole idea of a republic, that what was done in 2021, that of changing the title of Governor General to President, made us a republic, is not necessarily correct. So I'm just going to step through a couple of questions and answer them real quick to give you how I came to the idea that Barbados was a republic since 1966. So what is adult suffrage? Adult suffrage is when adult citizens can vote in an election. So when did Barbados become or got adult suffrage? I think it was back in 1951. There was an election around that time where everybody was able to vote, based on the fact that they were of a certain age and stuff like that. Who were they voting for after they got adult suffrage? They were voting for representatives. So what is voting for a representative called? It's called representative democracy. So what is representative democracy? Representative democracy is a system of government where citizens elect representatives to make decisions on their behalf. Right? So we get to the question of what is a republic? A republic, in a very simple term, republic is a form of government where citizens elect representatives to make decisions and to run the country. And where the government is based on a constitution, which is the highest law of the land. Right? So in all of that, I didn't mention the fact that Barbados styled, in 1966, Barbados styled itself as a constitutional monarchy. Now, the question is, what is a constitutional monarchy? And we juxtapose that to what is a real monarchy, or is there such a thing as a real monarchy? And if there is a real monarchy, then what is a constitutional monarchy? Right? And a real monarchy, again, in simple terms, is where the monarch is the sovereign. Right? The monarch has not only succession rights, where his eldest son or whatever becomes king when they pass on, or queen when they pass on. They have all decisions are made by them, and they have what's called the royal prerogative. Now, that doesn't exist in England. It never existed in England with Queen Elizabeth, under who we were styled as a constitutional monarchy, right? And if you dwell on the word, the term constitutional monarchy, right? Constitutional. And then if you go back to the question which I answered as to what is a republic, a government based on a constitution. So if you have something called a constitutional monarchy, it is not a real monarch. It is not a monarch that has absolute power. So it is really a ceremonial figurehead type of thing.
Okay.
So that in 1966, when we were considered a constitutional monarchy and everybody paid all of this outside attention to the word monarch, we were voting for representatives. And when you're voting for representatives, right, you are in a representative democracy. So I posit that Barbados was already a republic in 1966. And if all it took in 2021 is to change the name of a governor general to president for us to become a republic, then you have to ask yourself, what really is a republic, right? So yeah, I think people really need to understand. Yeah, that this whole thing that was done by the current prime minister, right? It was really a ceremony of nothing. We were already a republic. And I will end with that. I don't want to stretch on because
interesting. I'm going to hear Miss McLean ask her, you know, her thoughts on that. But and Mr. Barrow, who said he didn't think that it was necessary. But let me ask you, as I have you on the call, caller, what do you say to Barbadians about what you're hearing? You're not in Barbados. You're hearing of this these redevelopment that is happening, and you're hearing about you know, they're buying, well, they're really swooping up people's land in order to give it to the developers. They're moving people. You know, you see, like, it seemed like a gentrification of Bridgetown. What are your thoughts about that as a Barbadian living in the diaspora?
Well, it saddens me. It really does. But it does not surprise me because, again, everything, I keep asking myself if I'm honing in on the idea of it's the system, it's the way we govern ourselves that is the problem. If I'm doing that, I'm missing a bigger picture, but it all comes back to that. What the government is doing is morally wrong. What the government is, in terms of selling all this land and not doing it in a transparent way, selling the land that has significant interest and value to the people themselves, not listening to the people. That's not what you do in a democracy. But at the same time, the system allows for a prime minister to do these things and get away with it. They're not doing anything illegal, right? Because of the outsized power of that office. And that's why we need to attend to understanding how we are currently governed so that we can agitate members of the political class and those are aspiring to go to parliament, that in order to get our votes, you need to come up with a detailed plan of how you're going to change the system of government.
I agree with that.
Way, right? That's the only way you're going to get our votes, because as I'll keep saying this, you know, and this is no swipe at the Democratic Labour Party, but or any other political party, but when you get into power, you're going to be constrained by the system. And then a lot of the representatives, they know all routes leads to the prime minister's office. If you don't have a person of moral character in that office, what you're getting now is what you will get. And it shouldn't be left to the morals of the individual office holder, right? These are things that can be addressed systematically, right, within the system. Like the whole idea of, you know, one party winning 30 seats and therefore not having a leader of the opposition. Well, in Singapore, that we like to look to, the party, the governing party has been in office since 1959. And they understand that that does not conform with Westminster. So what they've done within the Constitution is to ensure that there is always a leader of the opposition. That is the law. Even in spite of the election result, they made a systematic change to assure that a problem that can occur does not occur.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But we keep looking to the individuals to do right by us, right? And not requiring the individuals to make laws to do right by us, irrespective of who
it is
in office.
Who is in office.
Yeah,
well, caller, yeah, go ahead. Make the last point, and then
the last thing, right? We can look across all of the prime ministers we've had, and we can see difference in governance, right?
Yes.
Difference in governance. And that's what I'm saying. We need to tighten down that office. And I'll finish by saying, as Allen in a Nation News article in 2010, I think it was, made this statement. I still have that article. He said that the Prime Ministers of Barbados has most of the ancient powers of most of the powers of ancient monarch, UK monarchs. And he was talking about the times when UK monarchs were absolute monarchs, where they had the royal prerogative. So we've taken the power of monarchy and situated into the office of the Prime Minister for a Prime Minister to exercise or not exercise as they please. And currently this one that we have is using all the powers of the office that she's allowed to do.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, somebody here is saying they would listen to you longer. I think you need to come on the show one night. The people are asking because there's a lot of education, and I think there needs to be some agitation where we speak to the political parties and begin to present to them what it is that we want. We need to talk off air, sir, because I think this is important for Barbados. What do you think?
Let me just address that real quick. I'm thinking about it. I'm still struggling with the idea that someone in the diaspora should be the one doing this.
You're a Barbadian, sir. You're a Barbadian.
I know I'm a Barbadian, but I believe that the idea is not about me. The idea is to get those 60% of Barbadians who are registered, who are eligible voters who are not part of the process back into the process to change this around.
Yes.
Right? And I think they would listen more to someone who's
not
true.
Not true. And some of the people are saying you need to come on as a guest. It's the second night, and you're sending us in research. And I think we're at the point now. I would agree, Michelle. I see Michelle squirming moving in her seat, and she is just going. I need to connect you with Michelle, connect you with Gina, connect you with those in the diaspora. Let us put together something, sir, and present a show on this. And also, as a loyal opposition, let us then lobby all the different parties and say, we want this in your manifesto. You see what I mean? So unfortunately, we're but somebody that said we need to educate the people. We need to. They don't want it to stop, but time is gone. And you call late, and you won't come in as a guest.
Marcia, might I suggest that you do exactly that? And the caller, I mean the viewer is reminding him that you are Barbadian of Jamaican birth, because they say you're Jamaican, you're both. So the point is, in fact, because you are Barbadian outside of Barbados, they probably would see you as probably being more objective and distance from the partisan elements of politics, because we like to talk about politics when we mean partisan politics. But I wanted to say that what he has raised is very significant, and within the context of two things that happened. We had a Constitution Reform Commission which should have spoken to some of these things, and there was a Parliamentary Reform Commission. That information, I sat on that information that report has not yet been discussed, but in terms of changes, it might provide a context, because I don't think that a short off the cuff response would do justice to the contribution that he just made.
Yes, we need
to. And I think that's a serious issue that needs to be taken into consideration, because in listening to him, the 60% that he referred to may very well have an opportunity to reflect on their positions in a way that if I spoke to them, because right away they're going to say, but you belong to party X.
Right. So I think we need to do it. The loyal opposition, we need to do it. The diaspora involved, we all get involved. Because if you're saying you shouldn't get involved, I shouldn't get involved in caller. So don't try it. Okay, I'm going to call you and you're coming on this show. I tell you now. All right.
I think it's important, sir.
All right. It's very important. I'm not trying to say this to make you feel great. I keep thinking it's where we're at right now. We need what you're saying right now. We need it. Yeah. We need it. Okay.
It wouldn't make me feel great. It's never about me. That's one of the reasons why I tend not to want to be in the public, because I don't want to be seen as something that I don't see myself as. I'm just a person that I really strongly believe that if people dig, they'll find the same information that I found. Right? This is nothing unique that I'm doing or nothing unique about me. And that's the reason why I come at
come to it at this point because nobody else is doing it.
Right.
So I guess I have to.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, caller.
Let me just say one thing.
Go ahead. You have something to say to him, Michelle?
Sometimes when you're in it, you don't have eyes behind your head. So it's difficult to see all the parts, all the moving parts. We're in the diaspora, we see things a little differently, a little broader, a little objectively and more objectively, and we're critical thinkers. So that's what I think the caller has done with this conversation. He kind of broadened, the perspective and created, everyone wants to hear him. So he's created something else for us to we just can't keep, it's like a hamster wheel. We just can't keep going over the same thing over and over and again. We have to figure out a way. It has to be systemically dealt with, not just like individual, the water, the land. It has to be done systemically.
Yes. Thank you so much, Michelle. Appreciate it. Thank you, caller. There's somebody else there, and I want to catch at least one more caller because this is this is your moment. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Wow, that was tremendous. There's another caller here. Really quick caller. Good night. Good night. To turn down your devices, please, sir. Thank you so much for calling. We appreciate it. Go ahead. Go right ahead, sir.
Hi, good night, Marcia. Good night to the Diaspora.
Yes.
To the Loyal Coalition. Yes, Sister Corbin, Sister Maxine, good night to you fine ladies.
Hi, good night.
I just want to say quickly, in the interest of time, I know it's
yes,
very short.
Really short.
I love what that caller, I love what that caller was saying, and he has a voice, he has a right to speak. Don't be shy. I'm sure Marcia would work on him and get him on the program.
Yes.
I know that for sure. Right. So that ain't gonna be no problem for Marcia. That's an easy walk in the park. So just to say, I listened back briefly to what the PM would have said when she said she's not going to lose any sleep over the debt or balance of payment. That really is sobering for me. I repeated it, I slowed it down, I listened to it again to make sure I heard right. I mean, I know I heard right, but I mean, you still can't believe what you're hearing. And this shows you not only poor governance, but poor representation. It's like you can say, I'm going to lose sleep over that. I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. What else can we expect? I mean, they're trying to basically sell out the majority of Barbados. You would have heard the speech given by Mr. Duguid. And what else can you say? We have to march, and I want to encourage all before we put down. We need to march more. Join Marcia and Comrade Maxine and Comrade Corbin, and join us all, the loyal opposition. We need to get in the faces of these people and show them who they really answer to. You understand?
Yes.
We need questions asked and answered. Okay?
Yes.
So I want to encourage you all, encourage everybody. All you have a good night. Make sure you lock up tight because we got a lot of women invasions going on. Protect our elderly folk. Let's protect each other and protect one another and be our brother and sisters keeper.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for calling, caller. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you. And guys, get your final comments. I know Rose was saying something, so Rose can put that in her final comments, but there was somebody else, and I want to encourage them, okay? Because this is the part where they get to speak out. So I'm going to call him back. He kept calling. So in the meantime, think about what it is that you want to close off with, gentle people. Let me get this person here.
Yes, good night, Marcia.
Yes, good night, sir. You were calling the Marcia Week show, and sorry about that.
Good night to the listeners, and good night to Barbados and all.
Yes, sir. Just a 2 minutes comment because
I just want to turn on a light. I just want to turn on a light bulb. All this is a land grab around the whole world.
And I think it's time enough we still gotta study our problems in Barbados, but we gotta study international problems too. Because Bill Gates have been buying a lot of land. There's a big company called I think it's oh God, Father Heaven. Anyhow, all this year started from technically when we had the lockdowns and all of that. And there's a reset. There's a colonial reset. And we gotta open our eyes and follow the money. That's all I wanted to say.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Very well said, and thank you for calling. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
God bless you. Yes. Yes, very good comments. So we're going to guys, let me tell you, this has been a great show tonight, and I love the way you were involved. But you were lighting up my phone and the comment sections. You're sending stuff to Miss McLean, Michelle is sending stuff. I mean, everybody got involved in the show tonight. Well, a little tight. We're gonna have to bring back Mrs. Corbin to finish up what she was sharing with us, but we're in a crucial time. But before we do our final comments, I want to once again invite every single one of you to come out to GIBBS. When you come out to GIBBS, it's a representation of what you believe and what you feel about Barbados and what is happening in Barbados. Do you understand? It's not just about GIBBS. We're going to have people from Brighton speaking, from Holetown speaking, from people speaking about the Pierhead, Bayland. We're going to get people from Bayland to come up that they're trying to run off the land. All these people are going to be there. The GIBBS on Sunday represents all of this redevelopment. We're going to talk about the recolonization. And in addition to that, we put more monies together, the people in GIBBS and from you, the donors here, and we're going to eat together, Miss McLean. We don't have no big part. No, this is not them kind of thing where you come and fet and eat and there's no education. No. We're going to have we got some burgers, so some hot dogs. We got some chicken. They commented that they said, listen, we're picking up the chicken. They got some fish. We have some breadfruit coming up from St. Joseph. You know how we do it as a family. There's no sponsor here. Nobody go hold our tongue and tell us what to say, because it comes from all of us. It's all of our monies in that we're eating, okay? So come on down. There is going to be a bus at Independence Square. What time is the bus at Independence Square? Somebody put it in the chat. What time is the bus at Independence Square? The bus is going to leave from Independence Square and go to GIBBS. Please be on time. Sometimes the buses, they're waiting and we don't get there on time and we don't want to be late. You know our events, we don't start late. Patam. When 2 o'clock comes, patam, we're ready to start, okay? We're going to have the anthem and we're ready to start, okay? So 1 o'clock, the bus, thank you, Jacqueline. 1 o'clock, the bus is leaving from Independence Square. All right, and you come down if you know and bring a cooler, bring your cooler with some soft drinks in it. Remember, it's education. We don't want you falling over. I tell you, this is not them kind of things. We want activism. When you lead, you're ready to act. We don't want you to drink so much you don't know what we're talking about. Okay. Of course, we can stop you from bringing a few beers and so on. That's not my lifestyle, but I can't force my thing on you. I told somebody I can't tell the people what to bring in their cooler, but I am saying to us, let us be moderate in what we do, because we're about education and activism and doing stuff. Okay. Bring a chair to sit on, like your folding chair. You can bring that. If you have an umbrella, wear proper shoes, because we're going to do it to walk in the gully, which is not too difficult, but be comfortable. Don't come in high heels. Okay. All right. So again, 1 o'clock at Independence Square. If you don't have the bus, call us. You got to book 236-7000, everything on the flyer. All right. So come down. All right. Going right now to Michelle, take a half a minute and give us your final words.
Okay. Let me just reiterate what I was saying earlier. We are, everyone here who's listening, everyone here who is, we're the active listeners, we are the active participants. Our assignment is to get the inactive persons, citizens up to date. We got to get them up to date. We have to make sure that they are understanding what is going on around them. We understand that they have families to take care of. We understand that they, like they're busy. but we have to activate them. And this is the only way that this is going to work.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Michelle. Let me go to Mrs. Corbin.
Yes, please. Thank you. And a quick question to Maxine. Maxine, would Mr. Duguid be part of the cabinet since he's a senior minister and a sitting MP?
Yes, he's a member of cabinet. He's responsible for infrastructure and something else. I have a list of portfolios I can share with you in the chat later.
Yes, I've got it here. Infrastructure projects and development commission.
Right. And he's a minister in the Prime Minister's office along with some others.
And he is in the Prime Minister's office.
Yes, he
and
is.
This is where I'm going, Maxine.
Okay.
And to the others. Should we ask that he be fired? And we know they're not going to fire, or resign at this monumental mistake? It shows also that there seems to be crevices, not just cracks now, crevices within the cabinet where the right hand does not know what the left hand is doing. And somebody has to take responsibility. And I believe he has been thrown under the bus. He's been kept in the dark. His teeth have been extracted. His mouth has become numb as if it's going to be a dental procedure. And my thing is, should he be fired, and who will fire him? Because the Prime Minister gives him oversight and he lodges in her office. Or should he resign and say, look, people, this was really, I was really out of my league. I was in the dark. I did not know. And I can do the Barbadian public, do right by the Barbadian public by tendering my resignation. A godly man, I respect him, but clearly with this national faux pas, this national boo-boo, this national mess up, that will impact this nation significantly and for generations to come, this cannot go as is.
Yes.
So the question is, fire or resign? Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Mrs. Corbin. Miss McLean, can you do it in half a minute? And the people still sending me stuff.
Well, I was going to try to answer Rose's question very quickly. Let me say, and that can be my wrap up.
Yes.
Dr. Duguid is a senior minister, a member of cabinet responsible for infrastructure. You are being very kind to your former dentist. He is not ignorant of the facts. So having said that, I just want to say quickly, there's a need for foreign direct investment, which is the typical counter argument to all of these things, but it cannot be any done anyhow, any condition or on any conditions. The government needs to be responsive. I'm hearing myself, responsive to Barbadians, and not after the fact coming to do these things such as what Dr. Duguid is presenting to us, because people have been demanding explanations. And at the end of the day, this issue is throwing up. Tonight's discussion, for example, has identified for me a number of other questions which have to be posed.
Sure.
Yes. And I said I'm not supposed to do this because I said you guys will have the thing, but I'm going to give the viewers the last word, okay? And this is someone who was buying land, and we will have to continue this, Miss McLean. The person said to me, that land at Trent is a total flood-prone area. So it's now the people's word, the historian word, the zoning information against what was told to us in the ministerial statement in Parliament. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. That land at Trent is a total flood prone area. I remember going with my mom to check on the land when they were selling out. And the person who was in charge of selling the lots was a man named, I'm not going to call the name of the man, who had a supermarket in Fairchild Street. I will send it to you, Ms. McLean. When we went to view the land, the only spots that remained were near the well, so we called it off. So what, and this is what I'm hearing from Mr. Marriage. He said it's a land that nobody builds on that land. That's why nothing was on it, because it's flood prone. So I know the government is listening. You got to, something is wrong, because what we understand, government, is not what you said today in Parliament. It's not. Okay, well, with that we close. We're going to close, and thank you all for joining. Thanks to Tina, who didn't get to stay on with us, Michelle from the Diaspora, Mrs. Corbin, Maxine McLean. Let me apologize for DONVILLE INNIS, who was not able to join us, but he says he's coming, but he had an emergency situation and could not join us tonight. So it wasn't false advertising, but he's going to join. We had a great chat today, and he has some strong views on this, so he's going to come on to share with us. Let me thank Dave for making this all happen, bringing us the stuff to read and making the show interactive and interesting. Thank you so much, Dave, for what you do, and to all the panelists and the viewers. Thank you so much. See you all at GIBBS, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Okay. This administration and the Prime Minister of Barbados is true, but still everybody still mum. We can't understand what's going on here. We're calling for a confidence motion against me and Marley leadership styles, and a lot of questions that has to be answered, need to be as a matter of urgency to the country, the people in this country. You do not own the country. You were chosen to run this country, and to run this country with transparency and accountability. It was also in your manifesto. Now we see that you are very deceitful.
All right, we're going to close out tonight, and this is going to come up on our channel. Okay, thank you so much. Good night, everybody. God bless.